Hey guys, welcome to part 3 of What If Naruto Was Adopted by Hyuga Clan. If you enjoy the video then like, share and subscribe and also comment your thoughts as it inspires me to make more such videos, and remember to check out my playlist section for other interesting stories. So let's get started. Chapter 14. Genin Arc. The Trident. Naruto pushed himself through the glowing barrier, and the dark underground corridor had vanished. Wow! Naruto exclaimed when his eyes were finally adjusted to the bright light. He was somehow standing in a great green valley. The scenery amazed the boy, with forests covering the mountainous area as far as Naruto could see, and a mighty river at the center of the valley. Naruto had the amazing view because he was standing atop a plateau, next to a waterfall. It was so peaceful, so perfect, that Naruto almost wished he could stay there forever. Welcome, young one, a deep voice startled Naruto. He had never seen or felt anyone approach him, yet there he was. The man stood right behind him, almost as if he had stood there all the time. It has been quite some time since someone entered the inner sanctum. Longer than I dare to remember. It feels like an eternity since. What? Who are you? Naruto asked the man suspiciously. The man had long red hair, though his age could be seen by the few gray hairs Naruto could see. He wore black clothing with long sleeves under his body armor, and seemed to be as tall and muscular as Jiraiya. But the thing which drew Naruto's attention was the Uzumaki emblem on each of the man's shoulders. You're an Uzumaki. It surprises you. The man frowned a bit. Do you not know? Have you entered without going through the proper rites? Has no one told you what this place is? Rites? Naruto asks, completely confused. Ji-san, I just stepped through a barrier in that ruin of a temple, and then I was here. Ruin? The man asked sharply. I see. A weary sigh. It would appear that more time must have passed than I had ever imagined. Tell me, young one, why did our clan send you here? Hesitantly, Naruto told the man what little was known about the sad fate of the Uzumaki clan, and explained to him that he was here due to the mission he was sent on. The old man may have been strange, but there was no malice in him, as far as Naruto could notice. In fact, Naruto was rather fascinated by the chakra which the man emitted, which almost felt ethereal, despite the large amount of it. It had something unnatural. Never had Naruto seen such a chakra, but then again he never ever met someone of his own clan before. I see. So you are the last child, the heir of our clan, who unknowingly entered the sanctum, ordered by Konoha, the city founded by our Senju brothers, the man summarized. He seemed torn. This overrides every protocol placed on this seal. To think such a fate had befallen our kin. Wait, you say we are inside a seal right now? Naruto exclaimed. The man looked at his surroundings. Correct. When the end of my life drew near, I sealed myself in this place in order to preserve my knowledge to the next one capable of bearing my responsibility. Wow, I just thought it transported me. But why the hell would you imprison yourself in a seal? I mean, it looks nice and all, but... The older man started pacing around. Our clan is among the eldest clans in our world, hailing from the time when the greatest of all shinobi lived, the Sage of the Six Paths. Some records even tell us that the predecessors of our clan lived before the sage himself. But a lot about that time has been shrouded in myths and legend. Anyway, some of the stories that were handed down the generations told that our ancestors received a weapon from the sage. The Sage of the Six Paths was the one who ordered us to hide that weapon, and foretold that there would come a day when the world would need it. Naruto frowned, recalling a reference to this shinobi in one of the history books, or perhaps in one of the rather boring history lessons that Iruka had given him at the academy. But one thing that Naruto remembered most of all was that this man had presumably started the age of shinobi. That's centuries ago. You mean you have protected this thing for all that time? The old man smiled a little, seeing the exasperated boy. No, it was not just me who carried and guarded our clan's greatest secret. In fact, many men and women of our clan tried to use it, but usually its power proved too great for us to use. Only a select few people were deemed worthy to even try, and among those there have been only a precious few who were able to survive the bonding with the weapon. And even to them, using the weapon was exceedingly difficult. It is whispered that after our clan's founder, there have only been 4 in our clan's entire history who were capable of properly wielding it. I was the last of them, and used much of my life force by using the weapon, causing my early death at 84 years of age. Which was considered to be young in our clan, he added with a smile, upon Naruto's look. Not that the weapon consumed my life, but wielding it consumed too much of my chakra, and I was brought near death by chakra exhaustion more often than not when wielding the weapon. The man stopped pacing around and looked pensively at the last of his clan. No, the legendary trident Gekihoko is a weapon too powerful for most. Its chakra consumption often proved to be far too high, even for most of our greatest warriors. Only the greatest in history, like that little brat who married our Mito shortly before I took my leave, would have the chakra needed to wield it without suffering a fate like my own. But, I see that you are unlike any man I saw before. The seal on your stomach conceals a being with power that defies all reason. Perhaps you were the one who the sage mentioned, perhaps you were the one meant to receive Gekihoko. Wait, how do you know what I am? What is this Geki something? And what did you mean with bonding? Naruto blurted out. The man's monologues had completely confused him, no matter how hard he was trying to understand his words. This was, after all, the first time he spoke to someone of his own clan. The weapon is named Gekihoko. The Gekihoko is a weapon which takes the shape of a trident, but it is unlike any other weapon. The Gekihoko does not really have a solid form. It takes shape using the wielder's chakra, and has the ability to disrupt any jutsu it touches. For instance, while you summon the trident, no genjutsu will affect you, and any fuinjutsu you touch with it will dissolve. For generations, our clan has used this weapon to hunt down those of our clan who went rogue, to defeat the most skilled of our brethren who lost their way. So because it uses your chakra, it has to bond with you first. Partially. Upon touching the seal containing the Gekihoko, the weapon will see whether the potential wielder is worthy or not. If proven worthy, it will be embedded in a divine seal on the main hand of its new wielder, residing there until his or her death. You, who are the last of our clan, should inherit the weapon. You already managed to pass the barriers that would have rejected any who would be unworthy by my own standards, so I ask you to ensure that this relic will not be lost to the world. Whatever line of reasoning the sage of the six paths once followed, whatever he may have foreseen, I cannot deny the power of the Gekihoko. Wait, so what is? I bid you farewell, Uzumaki Naruto. I, Uzumaki Ryota, the last wielder of the Gekihoko, deem you worthy of becoming the next wielder, both because of necessity and of quality. I wish you success with the binding process. Protect the legacy of our clan. And most of all, protect the world. That has always been the purpose of our clan. Though perhaps that is why we faced destruction first. As Uzumaki Ryota bowed respectfully to the last of his clan, the sun which had illuminated the valley dimmed. The sounds from the forest silenced. The winds ceased blowing. The water from the waterfall stopped running. All the world paused, all the attention aimed at the older man who touched the palm of Naruto's right hand. And then the sun exploded. Jiraiya was anxious. What is keeping Naruto away for this long? He pondered, while pacing from left to right. Damn it, brat. Don't do anything foolish. Don't worry, Hinata. I am sure Naruto will return soon. Kurenai tried to reassure the worried girl, who kept trying to look past the barrier with her Byakugan. Kurenai moved closer. Don't exhaust your chakra, she whispered, pulling the girl closer. Kiba grimaced when he saw Jiraiya's worried look. What is keeping him so damn long? If he faced another damned barrier, he would not have. A large explosion sounded, cutting of whatever Kiba wanted to say. The stone trembled, and a huge dust cloud blew through the tunnel. The dark-colored barrier flickered once, then twice, and then it suddenly disappeared completely. Now with her vision unobstructed, Hinata's Byakugan pierced the darkness. Naruto! Hinata cried out, her face torn by a horrified expression as she pulled herself from Kurenai's grasp and jumped off into the dark, with the others following her as fast as they could. The moment the fake sun had exploded, Naruto's body felt like it burned away for real. Excruciating pain blinded him, and all he could do was scream. Scream until his lungs started to hurt. Until his throat tore. In a faraway corner of his mind, Naruto registered that the Kyuubi's chakra started erupting from his skin, tearing apart his skin. From the torn skin, the blood started to flow into the chakra, mixing into some kind of flesh-like cloak which now surrounded him. as if he grew a new body of flesh, surrounding his own. So this was his end. This was his fate. And he could finally rest. The Kyuubi had won. No more pain. No more sorrow. Peace. Finally peace. Though he could barely pay attention, fighting to stay conscious, Naruto noticed how his cries had changed into a howling. Like his body had changed into the demon, so had his voice changed into the animalist growls and howl of a demonic fox. Naruto noticed how all senses, his eyes, ears, and nose suddenly improved. Though it only made him feel more pain, and his improved sense of smell only resulted in him getting nauseous because his own flesh was burning. Vaguely, he noticed the cries of Hinata echoing through the corridors, the sound of Jiraiya's wooden getas on the stone, and the panicked barks from Orochimaru followed by Kiba's curses. He noticed how his balance changed, as he felt tails behind him. Vaguely wondering when those had grown out of him. But more than anything, he felt his right hand burn. No. Jiraiya gasped. No. This cannot be. Get back. Now. He shouted as the other came close. Kurenai stepped up, and halted Kiba and Hinata before they could enter the last room. Jiraiya cursed as he saw the solid red chakra of the demonic fox amidst the inferno that had erupted in the chamber. Jiraiya was filled a panic which had not felt for decades. This is what the scrolls had described as the second form of release, implying that Naruto was only moments away from losing control. But before Jiraiya could think of anything to save his godson, the red chakra exploded. Standing amidst the flames and destruction, Naruto noticed Jiraiya shouting at him. Why is he here? Naruto started to think, too dazed and exhausted to think properly about what was going on. Where am I? Naruto felt his numb body and his right hand, which still felt as if the flesh had molten from his bones. But the hand was intact, and was holding something. A large, three-headed spear was in his right hand. As long as Naruto himself, the weapon was remarkably light. And rather beautiful, despite its dull steel color. The middle spearhead was a little longer than the two beside it. It's not a spear, but a trident, Naruto slowly realized. So this is that Gekihoko that Ryota told me about. Drop it. Now, he heard a voice growl inside him. Unless you want us both to die, the voice urged. What do you want now, you stupid fox? Naruto replied on a weary tone. Silence. The fox growled back, with a hint of worry that scared Naruto. I remember seeing this weapon. Drop it now, before it consumes all of our chakra. I cannot sustain you much longer from this place. But why? Shut up, the fox urged. Do it now. Naruto let go of the trident, but noticed that it dissolved before it could reach the ground. He felt the Kyuubi withdraw along with the fire that filled the room. The enormous amount of chakra that had enveloped him destabilized and exploded, as the world started spinning. And everything went dark. Hinata was sitting on the ground, the tears still running down her face, but she was too exhausted to continue crying. Only a sob escaped her every now and then. She knew her father would disapprove of such obvious weakness, but she could not care. What did the reputation of the clan matter when Naruto was wounded like this? Kiba was as exhausted as Hinata was, and worried himself sick, which was made obvious by the fact that he was unable to stop pacing around. Of the three of them, Orochimaru had the most composure. The puppy held watch in front of the tent where Jiraiya and Kurenai had spent the last 2 hours, trying to heal Naruto. With the risk of have the ruins collapse due to the previous explosion, Jiraiya and Kurenai had decided to drag the wounded Naruto out of the ruins. It worsened his condition, but the risk of collapse was too great to treat him there. The genin and the ninkin did not know what had happened to Naruto, but Kiba had seen that his teammate had lost nearly all of his skin. As if someone had flayed him. Most clothes had been disintegrated, even the so-called fireproof pants the Uzumaki had worn was burned. While the wounds and the resulting loss of blood were dangerous enough by themselves, Naruto's condition was worsened by something else. According to the few things Hinata had managed to say, Kiba understood that Naruto's chakra had been nearly depleted, while his chakra network had been severely damaged by the massive overload of chakra it had to endure. If Kiba hadn't seen the deep red, three-tailed creature, he would not have believed it. What the hell was that? Kiba muttered, not for the first time. What the hell was that thing? As such, the three waited, until Orochimaru suddenly jumped up. Hinata's head jerked up as the opening of the tent suddenly moved. Kurenai stepped out, with a pale and completely drained look. He is stable for now, she spoke, sounding completely exhausted. He survived, but he needs rest now. Jiraiya-sama will stay with him first. We will continue healing him tomorrow. One of you, please take the first watch, she added before she stepped in her tent, dropping onto her blanket, instantly asleep. I'll take watch, Hinata said, her Byakugan aimed at the old man's tent. I would not be able to sleep anyway, she explained before Kiba could protest. Kiba shrugged. At least his teammate had survived. Wake me in an hour. You look like hell, so I don't think you would stay awake for much longer. It took Jiraiya and Kurenai another 2 strenuous days to heal Naruto, despite the fact that the latter possessed an incredible healing ability. It was a testament of how close the boy had been to his grave, as he usually recovered within a day, even from the worst injuries. Though, in this case it had also been a matter of the Kyuubi having exhausted too much of its chakra before, so the creature could not speed up Naruto's recovery as much as usual. I'm sorry I screwed up like this, Naruto said, after he heard what had happened. His face was still hollow, showing he had yet to fully recover. His skin had returned, and remarkably enough, there was not a single scar to be found. He did lose a lot of weight, and looked as if he not eaten a proper meal in weeks. Naruto had woken up an hour ago, and after having had something to eat and drink, he now started talking. You should be, Jiraiya grumbled. You're lucky that your sensei is a better healer than I am. Damn it, kid, what the hell did you do down there? I told you not to take any risks. Kurenai frowned, and gestured Jiraiya to calm down, before she would have to heal another set of injuries. Take your time, Naruto, but I would like to hear about it too. Kiba's unintelligible grumbling seemed to be in agreement. Stroking Orochimaru, who had crouched down next to him, Naruto started to explain. How he could not find anything to remove the barrier, how he had walked on until he had finally found the luminescent barrier. When I entered that barrier, well, I entered the seal itself. I don't know how it happened, but somehow I got in a strange, bright, valley. I was told it was the interior of the seal, but I can't understand how anyone could create such a thing. That must have been a combination of space-time and sealing jutsu. But that should be impossible. Jiraiya said, his anger reducing a little as he was deeply impressed. Damn shame that seal was burned away afterwards, the things we could have learned. Naruto frowned and looked away. What happened in there, Naruto? Kurenai asked gently. Naruto sighed. It contained a secret of my clan, which was passed down to me. He held up his hand. Kurenai frowned. Neither she nor Jiraiya understood that seal. He called it a divine seal. Jiraiya looked perplexed. Divine seal, he exclaimed. That's impossible. That technique was lost even before the Uzumaki fell. I guess that was not the issue in this case, Naruto said, with a weak grin. I met someone in there. He resided in that seal, and gave me a secret which my clan had kept for centuries. He looked at them, noticing that they were a little offended by his refusal to tell, but he had no other option than to keep it a secret. I am sorry, but I cannot tell. Not yet at least. Too tired to properly think, he continued talking. But that secret was burned into my flesh, and took quite a toll on me. Hell, I would have died, if the fox had decided not to help me. Hey, how ironic, that the bastard saved me even when he never did anything by ruining my accursed life. Well, most likely to save its own furry ass. Perhaps I should thank. Jiraiya saw that Naruto had fallen asleep. Let him rest for now, he sighed. I'll stay close, in case anything changes, so you guys take some rest. What fox? Kiba said when they were outside the tent. Hinata looked away, something which Kiba noticed. You know, don't you, Hinata? What was that thing we saw in the ruins? That chakra wasn't human. What was that monster? It wasn't Naruto, right? Kiba. Kurenai barked, still too tired to start this discussion. This is not the time. Hinata cut her off. No, sensei. I think Kiba-kun should know, now that he has seen it. It could be worse if he drew wrong conclusions, or told other people about what he has seen. You know. How? Naruto-kun told me, sensei, Hinata nearly whispered. She did not like to do this, knowing that Naruto preferred to keep this a secret, but with what had happened. I will not say that I completely understand what was done to Naruto-kun, but this is too important. And if it is about the law, Naruto revealed it himself, so technically we wouldn't break any law. Maybe you are right. Kurenai sighed. She was still exhausted. But Hinata was right. Kiba's NE science could form a danger at this point. She shuddered at the thought at what might happen if Naruto's outburst became public knowledge. The council would definitely try to seal his chakra, or something as foolish as that. Kurenai knew all too well how Konoha treated those who were burdened with these kinds of seals. Her friend Anko had been isolated and shunned for a long time before she finally managed to gain some of the credit she deserved. And the seal she got from Orochimaru paled in comparison to Naruto's burden. Tisk, the Kyuubi said. Have you still not recovered? Puny weak human. Naruto looked up. The last thing he could remember was talking to his team about what had happened. You are asleep at the moment, the monstrous fox growled, seeing the kid's confusion. I only drew you here to make something clear. Thank you, Naruto said, before the fox could continue. What? The fox's eyes narrowed, before the creature snapped. I don't need your damn thanks. If you want to thank me, get me out of this forsaken prison. It shouted, lashing out with one of its massive claws against the enormous bars that held him away. You know very well that I do not know how to do that. But I do know you saved my life. And for that I thank you, it is the least I can do. The fox grumbled darkly, seemingly unsure whether Naruto was mocking him or not. Whatever, it's not like I care. Right now, you need to know about that weapon. I agree with your decision to keep it a secret, it is probably the wisest thing to do for now, though I would suggest that you tell that Hokage of yours, and perhaps that frog summoning fool as well. They might know something to help you prepare to use it. But do not try to summon that weapon again. Not before you get a lot stronger. I have no intention to die, and I tell you that you will get us both killed if you summon the old man's trident now. You are too damn weak. The monster looked a bit conflicted. Perhaps you should try it again when you're not so pathetic anymore, the fox chuckled. But that will take a few years. And in those few years I have all the time I need to break free. And getting a hold of the old man's trident would be a useful bonus. Let's see those accursed human try to imprison me again, the Kyuubi smirked. Jiraiya-sama, Kurenai called. Yeah, what's wrong? The toad sage reacted, irritated by the disturbance. The exhaustion weighed down the old man as well. In his worry about Naruto, the man had hardly been able to sleep. Kiba has seen and heard too much to keep things a secret. Especially after what Naruto just said. Jiraiya sighed. I guess so. Just tell him if you think it is right. You are the leader of our mission, and if am I not mistaken you are also in charge of looking after Naruto. Annoyingly sharp-witted woman, Jiraiya muttered to himself. Fine, I'll tell the Inuzuka mud as well, he grumbled, and then came out of the tent and turned to the boy. And you better keep this a secret, brat, and don't you dare to cause Naruto any more trouble than he already has, or I'll gut you myself, Jiraiya added darkly. Kiba paled a bit at the sage's feet. Naruto carries the Kyuubi within him, Jiraiya continued with a grim voice. Or better, he carries the seal in which the monster was locked away by my former pupil, the Yondaime Hokage. From what Naruto just told, I think the Kyuubi saved Naruto's life when that divine seal was created. Naruto's own chakra supply could not sustain the burden, so the creature jumped in and saved him. Probably just to save its own life, because it would have died along with Naruto if it had not interfered. The thing you saw a couple of days ago was the partial transformation of Naruto into the Kyuubi. Jiraiya returned to the tent before Kiba had managed to close his mouth, which had fallen open in shock. Or even consider asking any question. This is Naruto's burden, Hinata said softly. This is why people fear him, why people hate him, even though he cannot help any of it. She managed to startle Kiba with an unusual fierce look in her pale eyes. And I hope you will not hate him now you know, Kiba-kun. I should also add that this is an S-class secret, Kurenai added. Though many people know, it is forbidden to talk about it. And those who break the Hokage's law will face a death penalty. Though I do not think Jiraiya-sama would wait that long, in this case. In fact, if you do intend to mess things up, you could better kill yourself than wait for him. Having lost his voice, Kiba just nodded dumbly. Finally he knew Naruto's secret, yet knowing did not make him any happier. In the contrary, though Kiba was impulsive and short-tempered, and not the most observant genin in existence, Kiba had seen that Naruto was burdened by something. But this was just too huge. Too unreal. Like many other clans, the Inuzuka also lost members of their clan the day the Kyuubi attacked Konoha. But from what Kiba now heard, nothing of this was Naruto's fault. Yet everyone seemed to blame him. Why? He finally managed to say. Why should he suffer for things he did not do himself? Why would anyone blame Naruto? Because a lot of people fail to see the difference between the jailer and the prisoner, and many of those who don't, simply fear Naruto because he might one day lose control of the Kyuubi, Kurenai replied with a sad voice. After another 6 days had passed, Naruto was finally good to go. Though he was still tired, he was anxious to leave the place where he had nearly died. Having destroyed his own clothes, Naruto now wore spare clothes from Jiraiya. Well, a shrunk version of them. Though he regretted not having his own mesh armor underneath, Naruto liked the green kimono and pants better than his own black and white set of clothes. The red haori on top of it was just awesome. And the spare hand guards Jiraiya gave him also hid his divine seal from unwanted eyes. But Naruto refused to wear the wooden creations that Jiraiya wore. Thankfully, Kiba had a spare set of sandals, very old ones, so Naruto did not have to walk on his bare feet. The only thing he missed was his own belt and scrolls, but he could buy new ones when he got back in Konoha. Thanks, he smiled at the two, after showing his new style. It actually looks better than I had anticipated, Kurenai complimented him. The green is quite stealthy, though the red haori is far too noticeable during missions. Hinata agreed, but was just happy Naruto didn't see her blush. Too noticeable. Jiraiya frowned, looking at his own. What do you mean? Shinobi should be stylish as well. The red might be useful for giving the enemy a fair chance, Kiba smirked, so that they can run away first, before Naruto can attack and gobble them all up. Perhaps I should draw a fox on it as well, Naruto joked. He was a bit startled when he had found out Kiba was informed about his burden by the others, though when he heard from Jiraiya and Kurenai what they had seen, he understood their decision. After all, he had been stupid enough to blurt it out himself. And in the end, he was relieved. Though Kiba did not lie about his fear for the Kyuubi itself, the young Inuzuka understood Naruto was not at fault at all. He actually made fun of the ignorance of the other people, much to Naruto's amusement. The relaxed atmosphere made the way back more enjoyable, despite their slow pace. Kurenai still insisted that Naruto should use minimal amounts of chakra, as little as possible, and Jiraiya agreed with her. Hinata even insisted on taking more breaks, as she didn't trust the damage done to Naruto's chakra network. All in all, Naruto was a little embarrassed by all the attention, but he eventually settled that it's nice that they cared about him. I still have a lot of training to do till I'm truly strong, and not need to depend on anyone else anymore, were his concluding thoughts. Kurenai had finished her report of the mission. Jiraiya thought she was the best person to tell all of it to the Hokage, partially to avoid a scolding from his former sensei. Hiruzen frowned, not liking the secrecy from Naruto's side. All right, I thank you all for your efforts. I suggest Team 8 spends the rest of the time on training. There are less than 2 weeks left until the Chunin exams will start. Thank you, Hokage-sama, Kurenai bowed, followed by her genin. Naruto, I would like to speak with you and Jiraiya first, Hiruzen said, stopping Naruto from leaving the office along with his team members. Also, I would like all of you to keep all information regarding this mission a secret for now, he added. Though I'll make sure you each get a payment for an A-ranked mission. As the others left, Jiraiya closed the door. Hiruzen activated a seal preventing anyone else from accidentally overhearing anything said in his office. No one else will hear us now. Might I ask what truly happened? Naruto sighed. When I entered the final seal, I met someone from my own clan. Uzumaki Ryota, though he said his name was. Anyway, he told me he sealed himself before he would die, along with a powerful relic which the Uzumaki clan had kept secret for centuries. Naruto frowned a bit. I guess I should tell you, in case something happens to me. That relic was the strange-looking spear you were holding before you broke out of the Kyuubi's cloak, right? Jiraiya asks. It is a trident, Naruto corrected him. Ryota told me it was something created by the Sage of the Six Paths, and handed by him to the Uzumaki clan. The trident is named the Gekihoko, and according to Ryota it can disrupt any jutsu, though it consumes a lot of chakra to summon and use the weapon. Naruto sighed and looked at his right hand. Too much for me right now, at least. Ryota said he had to transfer the weapon to me, after I told him that I was the last of our clan, Naruto continued. That strange valley stopped, the sun within the illusionary valley exploded, and my hand started burning like hell. Naruto removed his hand guard, showing the divine seal on his hand. I was told that the Gekihoko would be embedded in a divine seal, and that this seal would be placed on my main hand. However, the transfer itself consumed a high amount of chakra. The Kyuubi actually chose to help me, if only to avoid dying himself as well. I do not really know what happened afterwards, other than the endless waves of pain I felt. He reached the second stage of transforming into the Kyuubi, 3 tails, and more chakra than I had ever expected to see from him at this point, Jiraiya said grimly. It was as if I was looking at a miniature Kyuubi. The insane amount of chakra that had flown through Naruto almost destroyed his chakra network. Jiraiya sighed. You really were on a hair's breadth from death, brat. Thanks for saving me, Naruto grinned sheepishly. These are truly serious matters, Hiruzen said. To think you retrieved one of Rakuto's relics. Hiruzen frowned, and continued smoking for a few minutes. Then he decided. This entire mission as well as the Gekihoko will be classified as an S-class secret, none of it will ever be recorded, and this information will be restricted to the 3 of us. And to those who will succeed us, as either Hokage or leader of the Uzumaki clan, are the next owner of this weapon. Jiraiya and Naruto agreed. I will make sure Kurenai, Kiba, and Hinata won't share any information regarding this mission, Jiraiya added. If I had known it would turn out like this, I would have waited another couple of years. Damn it, I just expected to find some secret scrolls and books in that ruin. Why did they put such an item at that place? Informing the rest of Team 8 turned out to be easy, as they were waiting outside the building. Kurenai said that they had to report in at Training Ground 3 at 10, tomorrow. She, Kiba and Jiraiya then each went their own ways, while Hinata and Naruto returned to the Hyuga manor. Do you think you are already strong enough to train tomorrow, Naruto-kun? She asked nervously. Probably. Though I admit this is a bit news for me, I never had this much trouble with healing before. It was supposed to be one of the few advantages that the stupid fox gave, he smiled, tapping on his own stomach. Guess it really was a close call, I'd better not tell Akko or Haruki. They'll kill me for being reckless. Well, Akko will. Haruki would give me a giant lecture, which could be worse, depending on your point of view, he said thoughtfully, scratching his chin. She smiled, and remained silent for a little while. Does it bother you Kiba-kun knows the truth about you now? Naruto frowned. It was quite a surprise when I woke up. I suppose I wouldn't have told him myself normally, but under those conditions it was unavoidable. In the end, I cannot really say if it bothered me that much, I'm just glad Kiba didn't take it out on me. I somewhat expected him to become scared or something, but he took it pretty well. Jiraiya-sama promised to gut him if he did, Hinata said on a serious tone. She wouldn't add that Jiraiya would likely wait for her to be finished if Kiba had crossed that line. Naruto shook his head in denial. No, that wasn't it. If Kiba hated me, I would have noticed the difference. I would feel it. Besides, I think Kiba is either too honest or too stupid to lie, Naruto laughed. The 2 teens were still smiling when they entered the Hyuga manor. Meet here at 9:30. Naruto asks. Chapter 15. Training. Good morning Hinata-sama, Naruto said teasingly, knowing how much she disliked it when he used the honorific. She looked at him and sighed. You'll never stop doing that, will you? Already seeing the answer in the little twinkle in his eyes. Probably, he smirked. So you really changed to green, another voice behind them spoke up. Hitomi-sama, Naruto bowed. Yes, I started to like it. I guess I needed a change. She looked at him. The boy wore a green short kimono, with long sleeves which almost covered his hand guards. He wore pants of the same color, and black sandals. Several scrolls were attached to his black belt. Though he had dropped the red Haori, much to her agreement. On the other hand, she saw Haruki had given him a couple of his old shoulder guards. You look like a real shinobi now, she complimented him. Aw thanks, I guess. He said, confused how to answer politely. She chuckled. Now, go you two, and train hard. They bowed and left. As she saw them leaving, Hitomi smiled. They grew up much faster than she had realized. The boy's burden forced him to, while her shy daughter followed in his footsteps, constantly looking at the boy she admired and taking him as her shining example. And Hitomi believed her daughter was right about him. A child of his age facing such hardships and still be sane, was nothing short of a miracle. No, not merely a miracle, it is his strength. Below his anger, something about his personality just glows with a gentle power I never expected to see from him. And Hinata saw it. Perhaps her eyes truly have the potential to surpass to my own, Hitomi thought. If only I could find a way to make Hiyashi see that. His focus on strength makes him blind to the truth. But there were more urgent matters. Several things within her clan did not add up. The branch's hatred toward the main family had been increasing, despite her efforts. Hiyashi noticed, and his response only fueled the fires of hatred. But Hiyashi was not the original source of all this hatred, someone else was manipulating them from the shadows. But who? And what was there to gain from such a dispute? Good morning, Naruto. Ayame greeted the boy cheerfully, before widening his eyes. Oh my, on a date. This early in the morning. She teased, seeing the blonde being unusually cheerful. Ayame, do not bother our best customer, Chuki scolded her with a smile on his lips. The usual. Air. Yeah, Naruto frowned. And you, Hinata? I just had breakfast, and Naruto-kun, the girl hesitated. What would that have to do with ramen? Naruto blinked, not understanding why someone could not have an appetite for his favorite dish. Well, if it had been cinnamon rolls, Hinata blushed. But. Okay. Naruto shrugged. Hinata saw him create a clone, one which took some of his money with him. Naruto-kun. He'll fetch some rolls for you, Naruto smiled. You're treating a girl, Chuki remarked when he put down Naruto's bowl of miso ramen with roasted pork fillet. I'd almost think Ayame's instincts are right. This looks serious indeed. She my teammate, Naruto retorted, seconds before he dove into his food. Hyuga Hinata. Hinata bowed her head to the chef of Ichiraku and his daughter. Pleased to meet you. Likewise, Ayame smiled. My name is Ayame, and this is my father Chuki. So you're one of Naruto's new teammates? She asked curiously. Or are you really? I am Naruto-kun's teammate, she said quickly. Naruto-kun was transferred into my team a while ago. Good thing he did, Chuki frowned. Naruto actually smiles now, even when he isn't looking at my ramen. But it is sad he doesn't eat as often here now. I always came here after my training with Guy-sensei, Naruto explained, before he continued eating. Have you been ill, Naruto? Ayame noticing that the boy's weight had diminished quite a lot. Still recovering, Naruto replied with his mouth full. Then I'd better prepare another bowl, Chuki said generously. Can't have my best customer being weakened, right? She looked rather friendly, Ayame remarked when the two genin left. Indeed, Chuki nodded. And a Hyuga of the main family. Not a bad catch. And she seems good for him as well. Ayame chuckled. Not that he realizes it himself. Hell, I doubt she would even dare to admit it to herself. You don't often see such a shy and gentle girl. Especially not from such a high and noble clan. Well, I doubt anyone who wasn't that kind would have gotten through to him. Maybe, Ayame agreed. But have you ever seen Naruto treat someone else? Well, aside from that handsome sensei of his, she added with a faint smile. Chuki coughed, pretending not to have heard that last remark. Good morning team, Kurenai started with a rather joyful mood. For the upcoming few days, I would like to make your first steps with your elemental training. As I am aware that Naruto has already started this, I have arranged someone else to help him with some new Fuiden and Kaden jutsus. In return for his help, you will be facing his team in a couple of days. She informed Naruto of the location where he would be expected, and started to educate Hinata and Kiba after he jumped off. First thing we will need to know is the type of chakra you have an affinity towards. We test this by putting some chakra in a piece of this special paper. She handed the two each a paper. If it ignites, you have an affinity towards fire. If it splits, wind. If it wrinkles, lighting. If it turns to dirt and crumbles, earth. And lastly, if it becomes wet or damp, you have an affinity towards water. No single type is best, though each have their own advantages and disadvantages. In addition, having an affinity towards one type does not mean you cannot master another. It simply means that you will have to work harder to master those other types. So an affinity is restricted to one type. Kiba asks, how come Naruto has two? Normally, yes. But there are people who possess a Kekkei Genkei and thereby get TWHO natural affinities. But for Naruto it is different, because he has a Kaiden affinity due to the Kyuubi's influence. Its chakra affects Naruto somehow, and enables him to use Kaiden as easily as Futon. In addition, he says that he is virtually immune to fire-based attacks. Kurenai added, now in full lecture mode. Which is a good thing. His burden does not only have disadvantages, but also brings in a few advantages for him. Here Orochimaru, you should try it as well. Hinata smiled a little, before focusing on her piece of paper. It turned out that both Kiba and Orochimaru had an affinity towards earth, while Hinata had an affinity towards water. Good, Kurenai concluded. That means that Hinata should work on mastering Suiten jutsus, while Kiba and Orochimaru should focus on Doden. The will be easier for you to learn, and the resulting jutsu will be more powerful. Though I don't know if Orochimaru can perform any jutsu which normally requires hand seals, you should probably ask your family about that. Kurenai paused a moment before continuing. Let's see. I said that each type of chakra has their advantages and disadvantages. In general, it can be said that each type has one type it is strong against, and one at which it is weak against. In your case, Hinata, it can be said that water is weak against earth, while strong against fire-based attacks. Kiba and Orochimaru will be strong against water types, while weak against lightning. Both teens and the dog nodded at hearing Kurenai's explanation. And, Hinata started. And for Naruto, Kurenai guessed what the girl wanted to ask. His fire is weak against water, but strong against wind, but he also has an affinity towards wind, which is strong against lightning. In essence, Naruto could improve his own fire-based jutsu by using the wind element, however this is something extremely difficult. So I can beat Hinata, and she can beat Naruto. Kiba asks. It is not that simple, Kiba, Kurenai frowned. Though it is true you all have advantages towards each other, there are other factors that are important. For instance how strong the techniques are. An A-rank Suiten will beat a D-rank Doden, even though the Doden has a relative advantage. Similarly, if one puts a great deal of chakra in a lower rank technique, he or she could defeat a much higher rank technique if that one is powered by a lower amount of chakra. So we still have nothing. Kiba frowned. No, not yet, Kurenai smiled, but you do know where to start training now. Your affinity does not say you can't use other elements, but simply that you have one particular element in which you excel. You could both use Doden, but Kiba would have to spend far less chakra to get the same effect, while Kiba would also learn new Doden jutsus faster. But before all that, there is one more exercise I need you to do. Kurenai had sent Naruto to Sarutobi Asuma, the Jonin sensei of Team 10. Something which didn't surprise Naruto much, considering how close the two Jonin were. Good morning, the older man greeted. Kurenai asked me to teach you a few basics regarding Futon and Kaiden. Naruto nodded. You possess an affinity to both types as well. No, Asuma laughed. But as someone from the Sarutobi clan, Kaiden was a given. I had to work hard to master Futon as well. And so began the lecture, in which the usually easygoing man was surprisingly serious. At the end of the day, Naruto's head was spinning from all the information he had yet to process. At least he now knew the basics of jutsus called the Renkuden, or air bullet, as well as the longer-ranged wind cutter, which Asuma had picked up from someone from Suna. Asuma had paid less attention to the Kaiden jutsus, as Naruto already knew a little more about those. Besides, there were more than enough Kaiden users in Konoha, while there were only a precious few who mastered the wind element. Still, Asuma did teach Naruto a basic fireball jutsu. Still, This was mostly explained to Naruto in theory, along with the required hand seals, as Asuma had been wary not to overburden the still weakened Naruto. With less than 2 weeks to go before the exams would commence, Naruto knew he had his work cut out for him. Mastering the new skills would be a challenge, though equally rewarding. Naruto was well aware that beyond his fuinjutsu, his skill set was rather a mess. Beyond that, he could still feel that he had yet to completely recover from all the damage he had sustained during the last mission. When he finally reached his cottage, he dropped into his bed without bothering to change. Damn. I never had to spend so much time on recovering. That trident business really could have gotten me killed, he realized. But from what the Kyuubi had told him, Naruto knew that this weapon was far stronger than he had initially expected. Especially if it could scare a demon as proud as the Kyuubi. Now I only need to get either the old man or the pervert willing to tell me about that Six Paths guy. He was supposed to be a darned myth, according to all the books that mention him. And that damned fox doesn't want to tell either. Normally, Naruto had little trouble with figuring out secrets. His stealth seal took care of that, even when he lived amidst the Hyuga. But how could he find something that was apparently not even documented? And precisely because he knew that he could not figure out this secret himself, just like with the mysterious scroll from Gado's office that Konoha's cryptology department was now researching, Naruto knew well enough that keeping secrets only to himself would be pointless. With no other Uzumaki around, he would have to find some way to master using the Gekihoko. Even if it required him to ask help from others, no matter how much he disliked doing that. Learning some new jutsus is easy, but figuring out stuff that is as secret as this. Like Shikamaru always says. Troublesome, Naruto yawned, before falling asleep. Hey Naruto! Hiba shouted, when the blonde showed up at their training ground next morning. Tell me how you did this. Hiba held up a single leaf, and frowned at Naruto's response. What? He said, upon seeing the horrified look. Hazashi-sama and Haruki, my instructors at the Hyuga clan, they made me do that one when they figured I had to refine my chakra control even more. He shuddered for a moment. Even with my cage bunshin, that was one hell of a shitty exercise. It bordered outright torture. Your conditions were completely different, Kurenai interfered, seeing Kiba's shock and Hinata's incoming depressions. Why don't you tell us what happened, Naruto? Well, first thing that was hard was to make the leaf either cut or burn. Often as just did both. Especially because I had to control the amount of chakra I used. If I did not pay enough attention, or just tried too hard, the leaf would explode. Naruto chuckled a bit sheepishly. Wasted dozens of good shirts on that. Hiba chuckled and Hinata blushed, as she was imagining how it would have looked like. So it was more difficult because you used two different types of chakra. Hinata managed to axe. I guess that would be the point, yes. Burning the leaf was pretty easy. But cutting it was harder. Naruto scratched the back of his head, but with a serious face for once. Now I think about it, I learned to distinguish my own chakra and the fox's chakra because of that. I guess they saw with their Byakugan why I messed it up, because afterwards the other chakra control exercises became pretty doable as well. Easy even, by comparison, as long as I made sure not to use too much chakra. Most things just require such minimal amounts of chakra that it just becomes impossible. Damn, Hiba uttered, so that was the reason why you always messed up the basic things when you first entered the academy. Yeah, Jiraiya once told me that I had trouble doing the things that required the least amounts of chakra, because I had far too much of it. Still can't do the regular Bunshin no Jutsu, for example. I keep overloading them, and the result? Well, not that I bothered learning it once I could do the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Regular shinobi start out with small chakra reserves for which they have to train hard to increase them, Kurenai explained. Your guest created the seemingly unique problem of having enormous reserves before learning how to properly wield it. Could you show us, Naruto-kun? Hinata asks, handing him a leaf. Naruto focused a bit, and the leaf was cut in 2 pieces. Holding on to the 2 pieces, Naruto frowned a bit, and the leaf burst into flames. Hinata watched it all with her Byakugan, noticing that Naruto shaped his chakra. See, could you do it again, for the futon? She asks. And Naruto obeyed. though a bit uncomfortable with how she stared at him and even leaned a bit towards him. How? Why did you shape your chakra before cutting the leaf? Hinata asks in surprise. Well, after I figured out how to keep my chakra separated, it was relatively easy to figure out how to cut or burn leaves. Burning is simple. Just imagine like the chakra you put into the leaf consumes the leaf. Basically, if you put enough chakra into it, it will ignite and burn. Naruto gave her a sheepish smile. Unless you put too much chakra into it. He mimicked an explosion with his hands. Wind chakra was a bit harder though. In the end it just came down to creating two fields of chakra with collide into each other, sharpening itself in the process. I don't know how to do it for water though. Or earth, he added, looking at Kiba and Orochimaru. Naruto is correct. The exercise will not work by only forcing your chakra into an object. The paper I gave you is made of a rare kind of tree, and serves as an easy conductor for your chakra. In essence, it does the trick for you. But something which does not conduct chakra that well, such as an ordinary leaf, requires you to figure out the trick for yourself, Kurenai lectured. If you manage to draw on and use your chakra in such a specific way, your skill will increase substantially. For learning any jutsus, however, you will also need to learn how to manipulate the shape of it, and not just the nature of chakra. So basically, this exercise does both at the most basic level. So we will get no help, Kiba grumbled. If you wanted things to be easy you should not have become a shinobi, Kurenai retorted sarcastically. These things are difficult, and for good reason. But the rewards are equally great. Naruto shrugged, and walked towards the riverbank. He and dozens of clones tried to execute the futon jutsus Asuma had taught him. Let's see. Rat, snake, horse, dog, Naruto and half of his clones said simultaneously while performing the hand seals. A few meters away, the other half of the clones incanted, tiger, rabbit, dog, ram, dragon. Throughout the day, the small size of wind grew enough in strength to make the effect of the jutsu visible on the water surface. When Kurenai decided to call it a day, she and her other genin students found Naruto, sleeping at the riverbank. Small wonder, she smiled, watching how Orochimaru crept towards the boy. The feedback from what the clones had learned must have exhausted him in his current condition. After the sleepy genin finished complaining how Orochimaru had bitten him, startling him by barking had not worked, Group 8 returned to get some rest. Hokage-sama, Kurenai bowed when she entered the office and closed the doors. Kurenai, Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned, wondering what had been so urgent that the usually calm woman had demanded to see him. Hokage-sama, there are a few things which I need to report. Is it about Naruto? Yes. I tried to train Team 8 in how to use and how to dispel genjutsu. Naruto proved to be incapable of genjutsu, which wasn't too much of a surprise considering his grades on the academy, but when it was his turn to disrupt the illusion I cast on them. Yes. Hiruzen questioned, when the woman fell silent. Genjutsu requires someone to change the chakra flows in the victim, thus controlling them. I couldn't do that on Naruto. Hinata used her Byakugan, and told me Naruto had two seals on him, one at his right hand, and one on his stomach, in which the genjutsu just would not attach. And because I did not get a complete control, the combination of Naruto's own chakra, the Kyuubi's chakra, and that other seal disrupted all but the strongest illusions I was willing to cast on him. Hiruzen nodded. I was aware that fully trained jinchuriki were virtually immune to genjutsu. Even when their hosts would get caught, the biju would simply disrupt the illusion. Naruto has a lot of work to do before I would say he is fully controlling the Kyuubi, Kurenai frowned. What is that second seal doing? I've read reports from the academy stating that he was not immune to genjutsu back then, so what did the new seal change? I am aware about Naruto's second seal, Hiruzen admitted. But it is not something which I can or will share. It is a secret. And for good reasons. I do not think I need to ask you to keep silent about this, as in many cases when it comes to Naruto. He did not voice his worries about what would happen if Naruto lost control of the Kyuubi now, since genjutsu was the only known weakness of the creature. Though, it also meant that others could not easily abuse Naruto's weakness against genjutsu now. Yes, Hokage-sama, Kurenai heard in his voice that further discussion would be pointless. She knew the seal on Naruto's hand was special, but it was virtually unheard of that a seal could do such a thing with genjutsu. Then again, Naruto did many things that were supposed to be impossible. She started to agree with Kakashi's assessment of Naruto as him being the village's #1 unpredictable ninja. She was curious. Very curious. An old teacher of Naruto had visited the manor, but of course, Naruto was not at home. She grew bored of it. The boy was continuously training, sneaking off early in the morning, and dragging himself home after dark. And she had no one to annoy the entire day. Akko was nice enough, but annoying the person who provides food was a no-go for the young feline. No, what had been a nice distraction from her boredom, was the way Akko had reacted. Akko-sama never acts that shy. Unless. She chuckled and realized what she would have to do. Akko-san. Long time no see. Ayame smiled. She had known Akko for a while now, seeing how Naruto was often to be found at Ichiraku's. And because both young women were of about the same age, they had little difficulty talking with each other. Which had developed into a friendship of sorts, over the years. To the point where Naruto often got the change to binge another bowl or two while Ayame kept Akko busy, before the Hyuga would eventually drag him home. Ayame-san. Akko smiled back, but her worried frown did not go away. Looking for Naruto again. Ayame chuckled. No. Akko sighed. Not right now, at least. No. Have you seen a cat around here? She has a black and white fur, and an unusually long tail. Ah, you mean the cat that Naruto keeps as a pet? No, I haven't seen any cats today. Why? Has she run off again? Do I need to warn the shopkeepers? Ayame knew full well about the cat's raid at the butcher's shop. And if the rumors were correct, it had not been the only mischief from the cat either. I don't think that is needed just yet, Akko smiled sheepishly. She was with me when I went out shopping, but she disappeared on the way back. I thought Naruto might have been here, and she went to him. Well, I'll look around, have a nice day, she waved her friend goodbye. She had watched him for a while now, and decided to make her move. Striking down, she had success and he chased her. Two legs were so easy to fool. A bit annoyed that the cat had vanished, Akko walked around the shopping district. She knows full well that I did not want her to walk off in this place. Not after the previous incident she caused. She won't get away with this easily if she pulled another heist again. Akko thought, grumbling. She decided to go to the next street, and if she wasn't there either, she wouldn't get anything for dinner either. And depending on what kind of chaos she had created this time, she would lose her blanket too. Walking around the corner, something or someone bashed into her. Hard. Losing her balance, she fell down to the ground. Whatever it was that had walked into her, it fell on top of her. Yumino Iruka blushed heavily when he realized what he had done. And how he had landed on top of the Hyuga girl. After all, it was a rather improper position. I am sorry, he stuttered. Please, I offer my fullest apologies, I did not mean to. She landed next to the heavily embarrassed humans. And I now pronounce you to he two-leg and she two-leg, she chuckled, before she had to dodge when Akko burst out, outraged and embarrassed. Still blushing, Akko walked home. Iruka had apologized profusely, over and over again, but she said he wasn't the one to be blamed. It had been Chi who was to blame. Of that Akko was sure, especially after Iruka had told her how he had been chasing the feline. Though, Akko still wondered whether she had to punish the cat, or thank her. I suppose that would depend on the dinner that Iruka offered in order to repay for this entire situation, Akko thought as she kept humming while she tried to decide what she would have to wear. Chapter 16. Duels and Dinners. Thinking she would have been first to arrive, Hinata was surprised to find out that Naruto was already busy. He, along with two clones of his, was practicing the fireball jutsu which had learned recently. Looking at him, with her Byakugan activated shortly, she could still see the damage he had sustained to his chakra network. Even though it was very minimally, his tenketsu were still not as they were supposed to be. Even she could see that, despite not believing she was a great talent when it came to the Byakugan's abilities. But Naruto's tenketsu were just too visible. Abnormally so. What bothered her more, though, were the minor signs of exhaustion which she could see. How long has Naruto-kun already been training? She wondered. Kurenai-sensei made him promise to ease the training for now. Good morning. Naruto-kun, she said, raising her voice a bit after starting out with a whisper. Naruto, who had been completely focused on his practice and never heard her approaching, looked around with a surprised expression. Ah, good. Good morning, Hinata-sama, he panted. Sorry, you startled me a bit, he admitted. No honorifics, she sighed. Please. Ah, yes, sorry, forgot about that for a moment, Naruto smiled weakly. But then you dropped them too. Naruto turned away just in time so that Hinata could safely blush. How could I address Naruto-kun in such a familiar way? I can't. But, he asked me. This training is boring, Naruto sighed. Don't you think your training is going well? Well, I guess so. But I'm still so darn slow. I sleep way too much, can't seem to lose my hunger, and my chakra reserves are horrible. Naruto frowned. And everyone keep forbidding me to use too much chakra. Seriously, even Akko was at my throat last night for training too much. Well, your injuries were severe. And you should be careful not to overexert yourself too early. Naruto, Hinata blushed. This time, Naruto saw her. But completely misunderstood. Is she mad because she suspects that I'm already training for 3 hours now? I know I promised before, but I'll try to calm down for real now. Sorry, Naruto apologized. Though, it's not like me, I never had this much trouble healing before. Even that one time when that rooftop collapsed when I was a kid, it only took a few days in hospital to recover. But this time, it just takes so damned long. Quite frustrating. I did not mean to say that. I didn't think you. Hinata was lost for a moment. Please be careful, she decided to say. If you train too hard, you should be careful not to hurt yourself. I didn't mean to say. I don't think you are weak, but you should not. Hinata uttered after a moment of silence, distraught by the way Naruto looked at her. And she started fidgeting with her index fingers again. I saw. The Kyuubi caused you a lot of pain. She's worried. Naruto finally realized. He considered this was why she had kept looking at him, whenever she thought he wasn't watching. And her expression, it held a lot more determination than he was used to see in her. I thought she was annoyed that I had messed up, back in the ruins. Or that she was scared because of the Kyuubi. I mean, she might have known about the demon, but seeing it with her own eyes, seeing me almost lose to it would be something else. But that hadn't been it. Hinata had never blamed him, he realized. She was worried. But why? Why would she be worried about me? He could get it through his head, so he decided to do the logical thing. Axe. Why worry? He wondered out loud. Why? Why would you be worried about me? You're my teammate. And, well, Hinata whispered. I don't like it. I don't want you to suffer so much pain. Hinata looked down at the ground, unsure what to say, and severely embarrassed. How would she say what she really thought? How could she tell him how much his wounds had worried her? That it had worried her so much because she didn't see him as just her teammate. Naruto smiled when he saw the girl's uncertainty. Even if he did not understand it, he felt odd that someone would care that much about him. I'm sorry, Hinata. I guess I still have to get used to the friendship thing. He scratched the back of his head. Friend. Naruto-kun sees me as his friend. Hinata's mind exploded. Kurenai smiled, looking down on the two clueless children. They both be shinobi, and are very deadly in their own ways, but they are also just children. No, not just children. They both carry burdens and emotional scars that no one of their age should have, she realized. But she was glad to see the distant and cold Naruto finally melt a little, while the young Hyuga would only gain confidence from these things. Haruki. Naruto started, with a bit of confusion in his voice. Haruki could see that the boy hesitated to ask his question. What is wrong, Naruto? I wanted to. What is friendship? Friendship. Haruki frowned. Well, it is just difficult for me to answer because it is hard to define. It is a feeling, so it is not exactly logical. I'd say it is a strong bond between two people. Yeah, I know. But why? Well, You care about your friends, don't you? Yes, Naruto frowned. But why would that mean I have a bond with anyone? Well, for starters, friends tend to care about each other. The affection, honesty, and compassion they can openly share between each other could be seen as characteristics of friendship. But that also means you have to trust those who you call your friends. Or else I would never be completely open and honest, Naruto guessed. Indeed. How could someone truly express one's feelings if the other is not trusted? So I would say friendship is a bond of trust between two people. People who accept each other for what they are, both because of their strengths and their weaknesses, accepting the good one can do but also the mistake one can make. So if you told Hinata-sama about your burden, haven't you? Haruki smiled. Would you have done so if you had not trusted her? I just took a gamble, Naruto admitted. I hoped she wouldn't turn away from me, but she asked me and I just took the risk. So you decided to trust in her judgment? Well, no. Yes, you could say that. Naruto hesitated, frowning while he tried to figure out what the right answer should be. As that, friendship. Do you trust me? Haruki smiled. Yes, of course You thought I was different from those of your own age. Yes, of course you are, Naruto sighed. No one of my age ever treated me that well, so yes. Perhaps Do you consider Akko to be your friend too? Or Jiraiya-sama? Haruki felt a little sad that Naruto had such a large difference in how he looked at those who were of his own age and those who weren't. But he could not blame the boy. The orphanages treated him badly, and he had grown up with the idea that those of his own age were a danger. Only a very few were different to him, such as the Hokage, Jiraiya, and people within the Hyuga such as Haruki himself. Don't think too much about what friendship is, Naruto. It is not something you truly can, or should, rationalize. It is emotion. Accept your emotions, and don't be afraid to show your emotions to those that you can call your friends. Perhaps, but it is strange that people would willingly be friends with me, Naruto shrugged. I thought, well, because of the demon, that no one would want to treat me as an equal. You are not to blame for what the Kyuubi is, or what it did. You are Uzumaki Naruto, and despite your burden you are just a regular 12-year-old boy. Haruki rummaged through the boy's hair. Come, let's go see what Akko made for dinner. After several days of training, Team 8 noticed that it had made some progress. Hinata, Hiba, and even Orochimaru managed to soak or crumble their leaves. Naruto, in turn, had mastered his 3 new techniques to some extent. Just as his health had recovered quite a bit by now. The Ichiraku treatment seemed to work well for the young blonde. Despite the protests of Akko and Haruki against the continuous consumption of ramen. With 4 days to go till the Chunin exams started, Team 8 was facing Team 10. Kurenai and Asuma had agreed that some exercise would be good for both of their teams, as well as. Okay everyone, Asuma called all the genin which stood at the training ground. Before we start, some rules. Firstly, no killing or causing any serious injuries. Secondly, when you know you have lost, say, I yield, no attacks are allowed after that. Lastly, these are team exercises, so I suggest you both work as a team. Shikamaru looked bored. Are you serious about this, sensei? Quite. I cannot have you lose this. What did you bet? The lazy genin smirked. And what's in it for us? Ino demanded, still annoyed. Asuma had told her they would be facing Naruto's team, so she had hoped to see Sasuke again. So caught up in her moment, she had forgotten that Naruto had been transferred. Asuma and the others had been wise enough to keep silent, knowing that this way she would at least come along. And be annoyed enough to fight seriously, rather than being worried about her hair or nails. If you're going to treat us again, I might have to get serious. Choji was hoping Asuma would pay for another visit to his all-you-can-eat restaurant. Fine, Asuma surrendered. I wonder who is in charge in your team, Naruto frowned. Hinata giggled and Kiba chuckled. That blonde has always been bossy. She's almost as bad as my sis, Kiba added, earning him a glare from the Ino. What are you going to win today, Kurenai-sensei? Naruto acts innocently. Don't talk like you have already won, you idiot. Ino snapped. Sadly, the end of her already limited self-control had been reached. Something good enough, Kurenai replied vaguely. Hinata could have sworn her sensei blushed slightly. Asuma grumbled, though the twinkle in his eyes betrayed his actual amusement. Also, I would like to suggest that both teams cooperate instead of compete during the exams, whenever you get the chance to do so. Fresh genin usually are not nominated to participate at the first opportunity they get, so I suppose you could need all the help you can get. Use this chance to get to know each other a little better. Since when did we get officially nominated? Shikamaru asks, with some surprise mixed in his bored voice. Last evening, Kurenai replied, with a look at Asuma. We were supposed to tell you after this training, as we wanted to see if you were truly ready or not. Participating with the exams is a decision each of you has to make for yourselves though. Naruto saw Hinata's depressed look. Well, I doubt any of the three of us would fail something as easy as that, he boasted. Though Hinata recognized his boast, and the intent behind him, she still doubted her own abilities. Kiba, on the other hand, got lost in his own enthusiasm. Yeah, they should have given us the Jonin exams first, instead of something this easy, he grinned. Choji looked doubtful, while Shikamaru facepalmed and mumbled something which sounded much like, troublesome. Ino dragged her teammates to the area which the Jonin had marked as their battlefield, foolishly being caught by Naruto's pace. I do hope the other two are not as insane as Naruto is. Asuma whispered to Kurenai, having regretted their bet from the moment he had taught Naruto. Naruto is Naruto, Kurenai said as if it explained everything, but it would be foolish to underestimate Hinata and Kiba. Besides, when you saw Naruto, he was still weakened, she smiled. Asuma frowned deeply. To be honest, I asked my dad about Naruto, he didn't want to tell me too much, but from what he did tell, he shook his head. I always thought the boy was cursed, but it seems like it proves to be a blessing of sorts as well. It wasn't actually the fox or the seal which gave Naruto so much trouble, Kurenai replied on a serious tone. It was how people mistreated him because of it. The prejudice and hatred caused more pain the fox ever did. Asuma nodded, also realizing that they too had part in how his life had gone. Begin. Asuma shouted. The teams had taken position at the opposing corners, in an area large enough to contain at least one soccer field. Naruto looked at Hinata. So, what will be our plan? Asuma whistled when he saw the number of clones Naruto suddenly deployed. How much chakra does he have? I honestly don't know. At least at the level of a Jonin or Kage, Kurenai answered. The issue is that is not all his chakra. Still, Naruto himself could easily pass for a Chunin, or perhaps even a Jonin, though that is a bit speculative. Problem is that he doesn't not have Jonin level chakra control. But I don't have a Byakugan, so it's hard to say what his limits are right now. And that's only the beginning, a voice spoke. Startling both Jonin, they saw Jiraiya and his former sensei near. Father, what are you doing here? Asuma recovered first. The Hokage pointed at the field where the clones had now mostly vanished. This caught my interest, though I'm partly here due to Jiraiya's nagging. Not that Jiraiya heard it, he was completely focused. Smart. Jiraiya whispered. Hiruzen could only nod in agreement. So far, their plan went fine. The Kage Bunshin had littered the field around Team 8 with weight seals, which could trap their opponents when they entered that section. But it was merely a diversion, as the smoke from the dispelled Bunshin concealed them from Team 10. Meanwhile, just as Hinata had suggested, Kiba had created a hole in the ground. You two hide, I'll sneak up to them. I'll strike when they get close enough, Naruto whispered. Kiba nodded, before he and Hinata hid. Meanwhile, 3 clones used the Henge no Jutsu to resemble the others, while one stayed in its original form. The clones created a little distance between them and the spot where Hinata, Kiba, and Orochimaru were hiding. Good luck, Naruto-kun, Hinata whispered in the direction Naruto was last seen. What the? Asuma exclaimed. Where did they go? Those are Bunshin. He pointed at the fake Team 8. Kurenai frowned, and shrugged. I think Hinata, Kiba, and Orochimaru are hiding in that hole over there. They even camouflaged it. Quick thinking. Must be Hinata's doing. Even though Kiba is still quite rough when it comes to his Doden, Kurenai smiled. But the real Naruto isn't there. Naruto used his stealth seal, Jiraiya explained. Something he found in the Uzumaki scrolls one gave him, and of all the jutsu in it, that particular one was actually the first jutsu he mastered, he added on a somewhat sad tone, remembering why his pupil once had such a strong desire to not be noticed by others. Seems like it is partially derived from genjutsu, Hiruzen remarked. But it is unlike the regular camouflage techniques, or even your transparent escape technique, Jiraiya. Probably. Those Uzumaki created many crazy fuinjutsu that I could only replicate, but never truly understood, Jiraiya admitted. Naruto once said that the seal basically absorbed everything other people would otherwise notice, but that it doesn't work while people keep concentrating on you while you activate the seal. I bet they can see Naruto, but Team 10 is left blind. Asuma whistled. Looks like the brat wasn't completely boasting when he said he could give the Jonin exam a try. Jiraiya nodded, with a look of pride, one that was mirrored by Kurenai. Shikamaru guessed that the Narutos that had initially popped up were no ordinary bunshin, and had left something on the ground before they were dispelled. Annoying. Seems like Naruto left some traps behind. We should either disarm or avoid them. I'd say the latter is the only choice we have, because we probably do not know how to disarm his traps. Or have the time to figure it out, but that leaves us only one path to go through. Likely another trap, the lazy genin pondered. What were those things, Shikamaru? Choji asks. No ordinary bunshin, probably cage bunshin. What? Ino looked annoyed at her teammate. I've heard about that, that's for Jonin. There is no way that idiot could perform such a technique. Shikamaru sighed. I told you Sakura was not crazy when she said Naruto was strong. And Naruto has never been an idiot, he was merely hiding what he could really do. But if this part of Sakura said is true, then the other things must be true as well. You mean that invisibility jutsu? Ino shuddered. How do you plan fighting that? Damn, if you had not come up with the idea of asking Sakura about what he could exactly do, we would already be screwed. It's a good thing she warned you in the first place, Ino, Choji nodded. But that wasn't the worst part. You mean what she refused to tell you? Shikamaru guessed, having come to the same conclusion as his friend. Yes. If she doesn't think such advanced seals are no big deal, then what more is he hiding? But what are we going to do? Ino asks. We can't wait here. We surely cannot stay at this position too long. Shikamaru pushed his brains to the limit. But approaching them is also a bad option. Troublesome, whoever came up with this strategy, I should definitely challenge for a game of shugi. We do the usual. Choji distracts, I capture, and you, Ino, force them to surrender. But I'm worried about the traps Naruto created. If those clones spread them, as I suspect, we would only have one way to approach them, so be on your guard. That's it. Ino almost shouted. Couldn't you come up with something a bit more? We will trust Shikamaru. Choji cut her off. I'm sure you have some kind of plan, don't you? Shikamaru smirked, to the relief of his teammates. The three of them started to carefully move forward. So Sakura told them about my abilities. Naruto frowned, having heard the conversation of Team 10. Figures. But it was inevitable that I would lose the advantage of surprise, but getting ratted out like this. Naruto grimaced. He shouldn't let himself get distracted by this. He had to fight. Hinata's plan had been relatively simple, but it required good timing and thus paying attention would be crucial. When Team 10 crossed half of the distance to the fake Team 8, Naruto decided it was time to start. The chakra consumption of his stealth seal began to annoy him. I've still not recovered completely, if only a few cage bunshin, weight seals, and a few minutes in stealth are enough to create such a strain on my chakra reserves. I still see nothing, Shikamaru, Choji grumbled nervously. What do you think they are up to? With Naruto, you never know, Shikamaru admitted. The other two shouldn't be too much of a problem, but with Naruto helping them. Right, Ino smirked weakly. Dead last Kiba, and the uncertain Hyuga heiress. You three are wrong about them, Naruto calmly stated, standing in between them. Ino was startled, and all three of them made a crucial mistake. They did not mind the bunshin. Dropping their disguises, all four shouted. Kaden, Gokaku no Jutsu. Too late. Shikamaru realized they were trapped in the narrow path, leaving them unable to dodge the four fireballs that were approaching. Choji, he shouted, urging the Akamichi to stop the attack of the bunshin, while he trapped Naruto with his Kajimane no Jutsu. Naruto frowned when he saw Choji increase his size several times. Ouch ouch ouch. Choji bounced around when the 4 fireballs hit him, frantically trying to extinguish the flames that had latched to his sleeve. But while dancing around, he triggered a lot of seals. You should not have underestimated us, Shikamaru smirked. Kajimane no Jutsu. Success. Who said I did? Naruto chuckled. Wait, seals. Activate, Naruto said calmly, while he broke Shikamaru's restraint in order to form the hand seals required. Oh, and don't try to trap someone who has that much more chakra, Naruto added. Choji fell down, the seal amplifying his already not so light body. Shikamaru spurred open his eyes when the Bunshin disappeared. They had exhausted their chakra, and the real members of Team 8 charged at them. Ino. Capture Naruto. I'll hold them off. Right. Ino snapped. Shintention no Jutsu. The moment the Bunshin executed their attacks, Kiba, Akamaru, and Hinata jumped out of their hiding place. Immediately charging at their opponents, Hinata took the center while Kiba and Akamaru attacked Team 10 in their flanks. But Hinata saw that Choji was already incapacitated, while Ino fell down to the ground, screaming. Surrender, Hinata said, now standing in front of Shikamaru. TCH. This is too troublesome to do on my own. Shikamaru grimaced. We yield. He turned towards Ino, who was lying on the ground, groaning as if she was in pain. Naruto stood next to her with a concerned frown. End your jutsu, Naruto, Shikamaru demanded, annoyed that the blonde would let his bossy teammate suffer like this. Even though Ino was troublesome in Shikamaru's eyes, she was still his teammate and friend. I didn't do this, Naruto frowned. I don't know what kind of jutsu she tried to use, but it seems like it backfired on her. Shikamaru raised his brows. Then her mind-body switch failed. But how? Even though it was just for a second, I am sure I held him still the moment she cast the jutsu on him. I never heard of anyone resisting. What did Sakura say again? Monster. Shikamaru looked up from his blonde teammate and saw Naruto's pensive look. No, he's no monster. But that doesn't mean that he has nothing to hide. But what? Wait. I'll remove the seals placed on Choji, Naruto said, noticing Shikamaru's look. Hinata, could you figure out what's happened with Ino? Ino-san in fine, physically at least. Her chakra flow seems to be a bit chaotic, but it should be fine soon enough. Hinata said, after looking at the girl with her Byakugan. Here you go, Choji, Naruto said, after removing the last seals that had held the Akamichi down. So Ino's fine. Seems like it, Shikamaru said, though his scowl had not disappeared. Clever tactic, using some kind of jutsu to hide yourself and then using yourself and your Kage Bunshin as distraction for the real attack. Well, it would have worked better if you hadn't already known about my seal, Naruto shrugged. Though, Shikamaru could hear a hint of agitation in his voice. I hadn't expected Choji to block that attack though. We hoped you would dodge, so that Naruto's seals would have caught you, Hinata added shyly. Kiba, Akamaru and I only acted as backup. But that would mean that Naruto could get hit by his own jutsu, right? Tisk, like I would get hurt by my own fire jutsu. Though I have to say that we mostly won because Hinata is smart enough to consider backup plans, Naruto smiled a bit. If she hadn't come up with this plan I could have failed the moment Shikamaru caught me. Or when Ino cast that weird jutsu. I was just lucky. If Ino's jutsu had worked, we should have won at that moment. Making you fight against your own team, Naruto, would definitely make it easy to take Hinata down, and with the 3 of us Kiba shouldn't have been too much of a problem either, Shikamaru pondered. But why didn't my Kajimane no Jutsu work? Is there truly such a large difference between me and Naruto that can break it so easily? Is that why Ino failed? Damn it, this duel only created more troublesome questions. Shikamaru sighed. No, you still would have won, because you can break my hold and Ino failed. Though Kiba and Hinata made sure we had no chance anyway. Troublesome team. Damn, Asuma exclaimed. Yeah, you won, he added, seeing the smug look on Kurenai's face. The exam will be pretty interesting this time, Hiruzen concluded, before he and Jiraiya vanished. That was shorter than I had expected, Jiraiya said while speeding back to the Hokage's office. So, why did you really tag along, sensei? I'm old, Jiraiya. As far as I see, there are only 3 who I think are worthy of succeeding me. You and Hitaki Kakashi would refuse to do it, and your former teammate has yet to deal with the demons of her past. Jiraiya frowned. Do you want to say to me that you were checking for a successor? Naruto. He is the most promising candidate I've seen after Minato died, Hiruzen agreed. Though he is still young, and struggles with a burden few could ever understand, he grew in quite an interesting way. I look forward to seeing him grow further. Naming him as a successor will cause quite a bit of political trouble. I am well aware, but I'm not planning to step down yet. I may be feeling my years, but I am still stronger than any Jonin currently in Konoha. Well, except for you, of course. There's Guy with his celestial gates, Jiraiya offered. He may have the strength, but not the personality needed. Besides, his strength is comparable to that of Kakashi. And though the latter does have a more suitable personality, he still struggles with his own past mistakes and losses. And I cannot say I'm too thrilled with the way he did his job as a sensei for his genin either, Hiruzen sighed. Of course, Danzo would be happy to take the seat, but that would be a disaster for Konoha. No, either you or Tsunade would be most qualified to succeed me at this moment. But if I hold out a couple of years, 5, or perhaps 8 years should be enough for Naruto to surpass me. But people will still not accept him. People will recognize his strength. And when the time comes, they will find that they have no other option than to rely on his strength, and his determination. As happened with the Shodai Hokage, people will be attracted to strength, like flies to the light. That's a rather cynical observation, Jiraiya sighed. I would prefer it if people accepted him for who he is, rather than accept him because they are forced to rely on his power. I mean, they would just betray him whenever he would show any sign of weakness. Perhaps, Hiruzen admitted. But it is the way of the world. And what other choice do I have? The only one with a reasonable comparable potential has a highly unstable personality. Nor did he ever show much talent to take a leading role. And my own grandson has yet to prove himself, despite the magnitude of his ambitions. Not to mention that he is even younger than Naruto is. Sensei, how come you aren't teaching us tricks like theirs? Shikamaru asked when Asuma and Kurenai joined them. Kurenai inspected Ino and said she would be fine with an hour of rest. She had been a bit worried when the girl had tried to use her technique against Naruto, but it seems that the Kyuubi's presence had made it impossible for her to enter Naruto's mind. Or had it been that mysterious seal on his right hand? It could be similar to his resistance to genjutsu, she considered. Well, that's because it is not something I could even teach you, Asuma admitted. But all those jutsus should consume an insane amount of chakra. Why waste so much? A still groggy Choji sputtered. True, but for Naruto, that is no problem, Kurenai explained. People from his clan were known for their chakra capacity, and not without reason. She added the usual lie they told people whenever Naruto did something impossible again. But Naruto is not the only one who has grown, compared to our days at the academy, Choji remarked, having noticed the speed at which Kiba and Hinata had moved. Seem like I won our bet, Kurenai smirked at Asuma. Team 8, let's meet again tomorrow at 9 at our usual training ground. As Team 8 stalked off, Kiba smirked. You know, Team 10 was supposed to be one of the strongest genin teams of our class. The children of 3 clan heads, all in one team, they were supposed to be a golden combination. And we defeated him without taking a single hit. The overly enthusiastic boy started to laugh, while Orochimaru jumped around him with an equal overdose of energy. Ha! They didn't even see us coming. We did do well, but I think the older teams still have an advantage, Hinata said with a hesitant voice, remembering her cousin. We still lack experience and skill, and we'll be fine, Naruto smiled at her. With your amazing eyes, and the unbeatable noses of Kiba and Orochimaru, there is no team that could surprise us. Especially with these kinds of tactics, Kiba laughed. He stopped in his tracks. Ah crap, I nearly forgot. What's wrong, Kiba-kun? Hinata asks, still blushing that her teammates complimented her like that. For someone who was only told she was a failure, a situation like this was a bit embarrassing to the young girl. Apart from her mother, no one ever seemed to trust her ability much. I was supposed to invite you for a dinner at my place. My mum more or less ordered me to drag the two of you along. Tough it is an Inuzuka matter. It's not something as fancy and neat as you two are used to with the Hyuga, Kiba added with a hint of uncertainty. We'd love to join you, Hinata replied with a smile. Though I hope your stories about you mother are not entirely true, Naruto smirked. Wouldn't want to join a dinner where I risk myself getting killed. No, she only does that to me, Kiba smiled embarrassedly. And don't tell her any of that. Then I guess we will have to join you, Hinata said with a witty tone. We should avoid getting our teammate getting killed so shortly before the exam. Despite their attempts at using humor to lighten the mood a bit, Kiba kept a little fidgety. Hinata wondered why he was this nervous. She knew the boy was a lot more sensitive than he wanted to appear to be, but she wondered why he would be so uncertain about something like this. Though she thought she knew part of the answer when they stepped into the Inuzuka's home. A large dog with an eye patch started to growl at Naruto. No Kuromaru, a fierce voice warned the large Ninken. Naruto realized why Kiba was afraid of his mother. She was wild, worse than Kiba, and she had similar spiky and untamed brown hair. Just like her son, her eyes were not like that of normal humans, as she had slit-like pupils. Similarly, her teeth seemed awfully dog-like. Together with the fang markings on her cheeks, she seemed quite dangerous. The fact that she held a saucepan in her hands seemed quite unnatural. Hey mom, Kiba greeted his mother. These are Uzumaki Naruto and Hyuga Hinata, my teammates. Ah, you finally brought them with you. Another female popped up from the kitchen. This younger woman seemed much more civilized and calm than her mother and brother. She ordered me to do so, Hana, Kiba grumbled. Well, we asked you a few times and you didn't listen, the elder woman shrugged. Please take a seat, we're almost done. Oh yeah, I'm the pup's mum, just call me Soom, she added, nearly forgetting etiquette entirely. As she stumbled back, Kiba's sister added, and I'm Hana. The black and white one is Kuromaru. Those lazy bastards over there, she pointed at 3 sleeping gray and white dogs, are the Heimaru brothers. Kiba's home turned out to be very cozy, though a little messy. Naruto was not really surprised though. Soom did not really seem the usual type of housewife. In any case, Naruto decided that the place really befitted the Inuzuka. It radiated the warmth and honesty which Kiba showed at times. Nice place, Naruto commented. She would love the place. He thought sarcastically. It isn't much but, Kiba started. It's much better than my 3-room cottage, Naruto grinned. And my place would be a complete chaos if Akko-san didn't force me to clean it up. And if Haruki hadn't scolded me as much as he did. Naruto knew he had no family, but Akko was pretty much like Naruto imagined how an older sister would be, while Haruki. Well, no one came that close to being a father figure to Naruto. Hinata giggled a bit, the effort Haruki had put into making Naruto a bit Hyuga-like, in terms of manners were widely known throughout her clan. And the living proof that even amongst the Hyuga, there existed something called a sense of humor. Anyway, the whole Hyuga complex is a bit too clean and tidy to my taste. Much too formal if you ask me, Naruto added. Kiba grinned a bit. Well, they do act like they are royalty, don't they? Watch it Kiba. No heresy around our princess, Naruto joked at Hinata, who had no idea how to respond. Luckily, Hana saved her by entering the dinner room. Princess, she asked absently, more focused on the food she was carrying. They weren't talking about you, Soom smirked. Those kids are not completely stupid, though it doesn't take much for Kiba to praise someone. Mum, Kiba groaned. Well, you did pester us a lot about the boy's secret at first, right? She replied to her son. Which one of my secrets? Naruto smirked, causing some eyebrows to rise before they joined him in laughter. I heard you guys sniffed me out, so it's not fair anyway, how could I have kept that secret from you? We all have our advantages, Hana smirked. We do, Soom agreed as she sat down with the others on the dinner table, but the drawback is that we tend to trust our senses a little too much. Quite honestly, kid, I thought you were danger. You smelled dangerous. Demonic. But the Hokage trusted you, so I thought it was best to not tell our Kiba a thing, so he could form his own opinion of you. Unusual, but it turned out to be the right decision to in Kiba for once, Hana commented, baiting her little brother. Quite impressive, for someone with his limited brain capacity. Shut it, Kiba growled. Naruto ignored his teammate and frowned a bit. You're saying you don't hate or fear me now, even though you did before. I was there when the Kyuubi hit us, Tsume said, on a very serious tone. I've never sensed anything that came even close to that. It was like a natural disaster in the flesh. Only a fool would not be afraid. I hated it, but I did not hate you. Though I was afraid, I simply doubted that such a monstrous being could be kept imprisoned in by a mere child. Hinata spoke up, though uncomfortable about the subject. The Yondaime created the seal which holds the Kyuubi. It could not have caused any problem, yet still. And still we could smell its chakra all over Naruto, Tsume noted. Sure, the Hyuga have shown us that we were wrong. And I really do admit that we were wrong, and even though it's in hindsight I will apologize for it, the woman sighed. But let us eat, and speak of more cheerful things than our past mistakes. Let us celebrate the upcoming exams. The remainder of the dinner was indeed cheerful. With Hana and Tsume telling things about their own exams, and Kiba's boasts on how he would pass the exams on their first try. Hinata, however, noted that Naruto was somewhat reserved. He enjoyed himself, but it seemed like he was wondering how these people could act so casual with him around. Not that she blamed him. This evening was unlike anything they had ever experienced within the Hyuga clan. The warmth and openness were completely new to Naruto, and even herself. At the end of the evening, Tsume thanked Naruto and Hinata for their visit before the two could even thank her for inviting them. You two are always welcome here, and I will make one more promise. No longer will the Inuzuka clan believe the false rumors that are spread about you, Naruto. I wish you the best of luck during the exams, and please keep my Kiba safe. Moved, Naruto could only bow, as Hinata thanked her for both of them. As they walked back, Naruto was mostly silent, seemingly confused by Tsume's promise. Do you think we can do it, Naruto-kun? Hinata asks, hesitant to voice her own uncertainty. What? Oh, the exams. Yeah, why not? I mean, we're all skilled enough, aren't we? He answered. I don't know if I. You will rock, Hinata-sama, Naruto said, half joking, half serious. You are smarter than Kiba and I together. Your eyesight is probably unmatched by anyone else in the exams, and your skills are much better than you want to believe, he added, now completely serious. You saw how easily Team 10 went down, and it was because of your plans. But that was you. I barely did a. No, Hinata. We did that as a team. You had the idea, right? Naruto sighed. Look, please don't compare your strength with mine, okay? I've got a monster inside me, so how could I be judged by normal standards anyway? You need to have a little faith in yourself. You know, it is very unlikely that even Kiba could beat you, and quite honestly, I would not know how to handle your Juken without the Kyuubi's chakra as backup. It's not like I can dodge you either, and your eyes would probably see right through my seals, so I would be forced to rely on Kage Bunshin and hope to wear you down. Even if I would win, it would be with high difficulty. She looked at him, thinking he was just lying in order to encourage her. But she saw none of the signs her mother had taught her to spot lies. He could not be serious, could he? She was the failure of the Hyuga clan, the clan's embarrassment. Still, Naruto's eyes looked at her with complete trust. But why would he trust a disappointment such as her? Everyone in her clan knew about her emotional defect. And still, if Naruto could believe in her, perhaps she could do it. She should at least try. She had to. I have always been a disappointment to my clan, but I will not disappoint my team. I will not disappoint Naruto-kun. Back at his cottage, Naruto first tidied his studying room. The clone he had left this morning had ran out of chakra during the day, leaving behind several opened scrolls and books. And Naruto had too much to think about anyway. Why did people slowly change their opinion about him? Power. A dark voice answered his question. Shut it, Naruto replied to the fox. But the fox did not listen, but instead drew Naruto into his room. What do you want this time? Naruto said, annoyed to be back in the sewer-like environment. Freedom, the fox answered dryly. Naruto sighed. You keep watching from the inside, don't you? So you should know I can't give you that one. You asked what I wanted, not what you could give me. the Kyuubi countered. But don't you think that people are only changing their opinion of you because your strength increases? Naruto shrugged. Only a few do that. Now, perhaps, but with that exam of yours, many more people will see your strength. Or should I say, our strength. Get to the point. The fox's eyes narrowed, giving away his annoyance. Not all will accept you. For the few who will do so, a greater number will fear you. Look at the pink-haired idiot. Or that damnable Uchiha. Strength always draws jealousy. People fear the strength of those they cannot control, and their hatred will be born out of that fear. Naruto frowned. Is this another of you? I don't want you getting killed, things. No, the Kyuubi sneered. Before sending Naruto away, I am merely informing you of the inevitable, so that I can enjoy your anger and despair even more. If I tell you now, you will only see your own fate, while there is nothing you can do to avert it. Damned bastard fox, Naruto growled, back in his study again, but still hearing the demon's chuckle. Though, Naruto realized that he could not counter the fox's arguments. Guess I should hold back whenever possible. They will not see our power, but my power. But he could feel the fox's amusement. The creature knew that Naruto would rather be hated by everyone, than risk the lives of his teammates. She blinked as she woke up. Well, woke up. Naruto could have sworn the cat's laziness increased by the day. One of the disadvantages of how Akko spoiled the creature. I'm bored, Konohamaru sighed. We could look for Naruto-kun. Moegi suggested. Boss is busy training. I heard the Chunin exams are coming soon, Udon spoke up. You think Naruto-kun will compete too? It would explain why leader has been working so hard. Moegi frowned. Though, should we make sure he doesn't train too hard? Leader looked awfully pale, the other day. Yes, Konohamaru decided. We will find him. She jumped down, having spied on them long enough. But before she could tell the kids it would be pointless to go looking for Naruto, the three jumped forward screaming, the boss's cat. Naturally, the cat decided to run. Even she had respect for the amount of mischief committed by the Konohamaru squad. Finally having been successful in shaking of her annoying guard, Hanabi walked alone through the streets. Other people could be so bothersome. But they were just inferior to her, so why did she have to bother with them? She had already proven her worth, being superior even to her sister, someone of her own flesh and blood. Her father saw her talent, her value to the clan. But as much as he focused on her, so her mother focused on her failure of a sister. But at least now she was free from all the meddling servants and guards. And as if she had heard her silent wish, the long-tailed furry cat appeared in front of her again. Kitty! Hanabi exclaimed happily, allowing herself to forget proper behavior for a moment. But her belief that she could do that because she was alone was proven wrong when a boy crashed around the corner, into the street where Hanabi and the cat were. Stop that Kaahat! The boy screamed, regaining his footing. But Hanabi did no such thing. She smacked the boy in his face, halting him, if only from the sheer surprise that someone had dared to hit him. Moegi and the slower Udon had finally caught up too, and now saw Hanabi standing in front of Konohamaru, while the cat sat behind Hanabi. What did you do that for? Konohamaru exclaimed. Why don't you leave that poor cat alone? Hanabi frowned. Who do you think you are, telling me what to do? Get lost, peasant boy, Hanabi shrugged, her disdain obvious on her cold face. Though amused, she decided to end this little squabble before it really started. There's no need to fight over me, you can both pet me if you want to, she chuckled. Four pair of baffled eyes looked at her. What? She wondered. Never seen a cat talk. Why are you all ganging up on me? She looked a bit worried when the four kids surrounded the cat. Alright, she sighed. Time to bail. Again. The surprised villagers from Konohagakure could, that day, wonder why four children were chasing one cat. Moreover, they would wonder why that group consisted of both the unruly grandson of the Hokage and the cold daughter of the head of the Hyuga clan. Needless to say, she was quite amused by playing with the kids like this. Hanabi and Konohamaru both swore to one day catch the talking cat, before the other could. Konohamaru realized that this world contained a lot of rivals. Chapter 17. A gift and a meeting. Naruto woke up. Wah! He heard knocking again. Grumbling, he stepped out of his bed. 7:30. Too early for Akko. He realized, his mind still half asleep. Yeah, I'm coming, he uttered when he heard knocking again. Putting on his pants, he opened the door. Hitomi-sama, Naruto croaked in surprise. Yes, Naruto, the wife of the head of the Hyuga clan answered, smiling at the sleepy genin's confusion. Can I come in? Ah, yes, of course, Naruto stammered. Why would she visit me the day before the exams? And at this hour? Thank you, Hitomi said as she entered the boy's cottage. He quickly put on his shirt, as she looked around in his room. It surprised her how much scrolls and books he had crammed in the 3 rooms. The largest room contained the living area and kitchen, while the smaller room where Naruto was dressing himself was his bedroom. The 3rd room was a storage room which had transformed into a study, though a lot of his study materials could also be seen in the living room. By the looks of it, Naruto barely understood how extremely valuable these scrolls were. Though, now she looked better, she saw seals everywhere. This place was a lot better guarded than she had initially thought. To anyone this boy would seem careless, while in reality the amount of seals more or less pointed out that he was a security freak. Seems you take your studies quite seriously, she remarked, as the now fully dressed Naruto entered the room. Yeah, it usually takes me quite some time to understand each scroll or book, he admitted somewhat embarrassed. Even when using Kage Bunshin, studying my clan's fuinjutsu without someone who can teach me is a bit difficult at times. Perhaps you could try to ask Jiraiya-sama if he wants to take you as his official apprentice. Well, with him continuously being on those long missions of his, I don't think that is feasible. Not with my rank and disposition. She chuckled, realizing the boy was much smarter than he usually wanted to reveal. Perhaps you could ask him if you made it to Chunin. Naruto blinked. Perhaps, but even if that happens, the old man would still have to give me permission to leave the village. Perhaps, she admitted, but if you perform well during the exams, I am sure you will draw quite some attention from both the Konoha and the foreign shinobi. Though, you should not let that get to your head. She frowned a bit, and the slight hesitation made Naruto realize how much Hinata was starting to look like her mother. They shared the same dark blue hair and fair skin, but their faces also were very similar. This was something which Naruto did not notice until now, as the expressions and body language of the confident and calm mother and her hesitant and shy daughter usually were very different. But now that Hinata seemed to open up a little. I hope you will do your absolute best, she said. And I would ask you to protect my daughter if I had not known you will do so even if I did not ask it. She smiled a bit. The Hyuga clan has yet to realize the things you have done for us, I'm sure of that. But on my own account, I wish to offer you this, both as a token of gratitude, and to wish you success on your exams. She handed Naruto a package, and urged him to open it. With his eyes wide from surprise, Naruto unpacked a new set of clothes. I thought the new color fits you very well, Hitomi added. Though the shrunken down clothes did not suit you as well as it should. Also, I studied your clan's history a bit, and altered the Toad Hermit style a little with elements of your clan's style. This is amazing, Naruto said softly, as he held up the green shirt. The new set included a mesh armor, over which he would wear a dark green shirt. This shirt was much like Jiraiya's, as it resembled a short shirt kimono, but the sleeves were wide and long, covering his hands. Naruto knew this was something which the Uzumaki clan preferred, and he figured it would be perfect to hide scrolls or smaller weapons underneath. Or to mask the execution of hand seals. I heard from Haruki-san that you used fireproof materials previously, so I had ordered to make the entire set of that instead of regular materials, she added. She smiled as he found out that the symbol of Uzushiogakure was emblazoned on the shoulders. He looked in the package and found pants of the same materials and color, as well as a black belt, designed to hold scrolls. I also had some hand guards made for you, which should be a better fit. It is made of the same materials as the shoulder guards, she said when he uncovered the last items from the package. With a lump in his throat, Naruto bowed. Thank you, Hitomi-sama. This is more than If I had to give you what I think you deserved, Hitomi cut him off. Our clan would face bankruptcy. She chuckled. Please do not think that I am completely ignorant of the things you did. No matter how well you hide it. Naruto blushed a bit, but did nothing to either agree with, or counter, the statement. He knew she could easily see through lies anyway. I only ever did what I thought was right, he decided to say, knowing that it would both be the truth and not really confirm anything at the same time. And so did I. At the very least, if you are going to impress the world, you could do it well dressed, she smiled. She saw he realized what she hinted at, even though he did not tell why he did it. Perhaps he does not want it out in the open yet, she mused. A majority of the people hate him, and even within our clan there are enough who doubt him. Or despise him. Perhaps his decision to keep this covert was wise, but he can't maintain this much longer. I guess I'm obliged to put up one hell of a show now, he smiled at her, though he was unable to hide the happiness and gratefulness he felt. I probably owe the village a scare or two anyway, he added mischievously. Impress the world, Naruto, but don't give them more reason to fear you than they already have, she warned him gently, before she left to eat breakfast with her family. Elated by the gift he had received, he decided to eat at Ichiraku's again. Though he had gone there several times this week, the delicious ramen was a feast to him every time. And this was certainly a moment worth to celebrate. Though, Akko and Haruki scolded him because he had to eat more healthy food, threatening him that he would not grow properly otherwise. This time, however, he could not eat without being disturbed. A blonde-haired woman ordered something to eat, and sat down next to him, continuous looking at him. What? Naruto said after a while, getting a bit annoyed by the woman's gaze. He had such a good mood, and did not want it to be spoiled by another idiotic civilian. It is always odd to look from the outside in. What? Naruto replied pointedly. He looked a bit better at her. The woman had long, straight, blonde hair, and dark eyes. The woman wore black pants, a black and purple blouse, and purple fingerless gloves, with a chain of blue beads around her left hand. But that was not just it. She looked different, but more importantly, she felt different from any other shinobi he had seen. Who are you? Why is someone from Kumo bothering me? He added, recognizing her forehead protector. The woman chuckled. I guess I shouldn't be surprised that you're not scared. You're strong, but not as much that it should be fearsome, he frowned. Perhaps to you, she added knowingly. But people usually fear me, like they fear you, Uzumaki Naruto. I asked you who you are, Naruto repeated, now a bit on his guard. Relax, no need to generate such chakra, she smiled, but he easily saw through it and knew the smile was fake. I was merely interested in you, and Jiraiya-sama told me where I had the biggest chance of finding you. Though, I mostly followed your scent. What does the old perv have to do with someone from Kumo? He acted as both my guide and my guard. He led my team and me to Konohagakure. I currently function as a Jonin sensei for my team of Chunin candidates. Though, the real reason for me personally to come here is you, Mr. 9. Naruto heard the latter, narrowed his eyes a bit, and stood up. If you're finished playing with me, I'll take my leave, he said darkly. I had imagined you would be more interested when you met someone like yourself, she frowned. I am indeed a shinobi from Kumogakure, but like you, I have little in common with ordinary shinobi. My name is Niyugito, and I hold the Nibi, the two-tailed Biju, inside me. Naruto turned back. The Kyuubi already told me so, but he also seems to think you and the cat are quite amusing. He talks to you even though he is sealed. She acts surprised. How clearly can you hear him? Not really a subtle spy, are you? As I said, I care little about the borders set by shinobi. Yugito started to get a little annoyed by the boy's impudence. Didn't he realize how privileged he was, meeting a fellow jinchuriki, not to mention one with a level of control such as she reached? Kumogakure may be my home, but I am as much a prisoner of that place as you are here. And you want to know how strong the Kyuubi's influence over me is, while you can hardly control your own hatred. Naruto smirked. Yugito's eyes narrowed, and her nails seemed to extend. What do you know about? I am the Kyuubi's jinchuriki, just as you said. I would have expected you to be smart enough to not make such obvious lies, Naruto said sharply. Besides, you refer to yourself as a jinchuriki, the name the humans give us to indicate we are their tools. The word they use to indicate that we exist to serve for their convenience. But you are wrong at one thing. Even though many of them may be fools, I do not think myself that much different from them. And I certainly refuse to be called a tool. What do you know about such things, child? She hissed. He shrugged at her, and walked away. Apologies about the scene, Tsuki-san, Naruto said, seeing how guarded the ramen master was due to the sheer amount of killing intent both jinchuriki had expelled, leaving a little extra money on his way out. He is different from what you expected, I presume. Jiraiya said, stepping away from the cover from which he had followed the conversation. Apparently, she growled. The fool is barely in control, he should at least listen to his elders. He is as foolish as B. No, even worse. Now, Jiraiya reassured her. He knows his situation pretty well, and though he still has a long way to go, he is already pretty remarkable for someone of his age. Don't let your pride blind you, Jiraiya-sama, the Jinchuriki sighed. Just like the 8 tails caused more trouble than the 2 tails, so will the 9 tails' strength be beyond that of the 8 tails. And unlike most of the Biju, the Kyuubi was cunning enough to retain his freedom for centuries, while his brothers and sisters were caught and imprisoned one after another. Jiraiya frowned. So that is the reason you were not surprised he wasn't impressed by your power, even though you were in control, as a Jinchuriki. His power will surpass mine, just as the Kyuubi's surpasses that of the Nibi. She paused for a moment, thinking. Just from speaking to him a little, it is clear to me his power vastly exceeds my own when I was his age. But still that means little, because his problems to gain control will also be far greater than the ones I had to face. Jiraiya knew a few things about the horrible training the woman had endured to become this way. Are things really this bad? I honestly don't know, she spoke softly. My process was partly an experiment, but my solution was quite different from that of the Hachibi's Jinchuriki. After the first 2 parts of the exam are done, Jiraiya acts on a serious tone. Would you be willing to take a look at the boy? She frowned. It would be against the orders from Raikage-sama to reveal too much about myself, but I will do my duty as a Jinchuriki, though I think you should make sure he listens to me, first. Thank you, Yugito. And I will make sure of it, Jiraiya laughed gently. But don't be too surprised, the brat has lived his entire life without fully trusting anyone, there are probably only a handful of people he partially trusts, so cut him some slack. I know what it is to be seen as a monster, Yugito answered on a bitter tone. Though, the fact that he still sees himself as a shinobi despite his acceptance that he is not human surprises me. Perhaps the support he got from you and the Hokage helped him to retain some of his humanity. Naruto frowned. Why would a foreign Jinchuriki visit him? Naruto shrugged, and noticed that his hand guards each had a different symbol, on his right hand the symbol of Uzushiogakure, his left hand the symbol of Konohagakure. Who cares about villages, titles, or other boundaries? The only thing that would matter is friendship, he thought. Jinchuriki or not, the woman was not his friend, she was nothing like him. So why would he care about her? True strength is enduring everything on your own, not needing any help, not bending your will because of others. Like Hitomi-sama said, I will show the world my strength, then these idiots will no longer underestimate me. Not that Naruto's musings lasted long. Oyayaboyan was the last Naruto heard before being tackled by an incoming Konohamaru. After their babysitting mission, Konohamaru had taken a bad habit of stalking Naruto whenever he could. This meant that Konohamaru once again had managed to escape Ebisu, who would probably be panicking again. Apparently, the teacher was not a fan of being lectured himself. Yo, what are you doing, Nichan? Naruto groaned when he stood up again, whisking the dust from his brand new clothes. Having a day off, Konohamaru. Are you going to take the Chunin exams tomorrow, boss? A small orange-haired girl asks. Great, the entire Konohamaru squad has tracked me down, Naruto realized, as he saw Moegi and Udon. Yeah, my team will participate as well. I'm sorry, but I can't play today, still got some things I need to buy, and I have to meet my team soon, Naruto said, before vanishing with a puff of smoke and leaves. Naruto knew enough that they would not stop following him, so he chose to shake them off. Though not the nicest way, the Shunshin no Jutsu certainly was the most effective. Naruto smiled to himself, realizing that not all the Konoha shinobi saw him as a monster. As Anko's presence was requested. Dango. Sarutobi Hiruzen felt old. His head ached from an entire hour of listening to the rants of several shopkeepers and other civilians. And now he would get to speak the one who caused it all. Come in, Anko, he sighed when he heard her knocking on the door of his office. Ah, Good afternoon, Hokage-sama, IEHH. Anko started, clearly being very uncomfortable under the older man's glare. Sit down, Hiruzen said, cutting her off. For the past hour I had to listen to reports from various civilians. Ah, yes, you see Hokage-sama, I was silent. He cut her off, looking strictly. I would like to get an explanation for the destruction of 2 shop buildings, 3 civilian houses, several dozen meters of street, and the fence around of Inuzuka kennels. Hiruzen sighed. They still have not located all of the dogs that had ran off. Well, I was chasing. There are also several rooftops that need mending now, and not mentioning the property you destroyed further, I would also like to know why there were nearly a dozen people wounded during your little rampage. Hiruz continued, with a harsh look. Not to mention that you impaled several animals with poisoned kunai. Hiruzen raised his voice. Is this the behavior expected from a Jonin of Konoha? Well, I was chasing a cat, sir, Anko said, blushing with embarrassment. A cat, Hiruzen hissed. All that. You did all that because you chased one cat. Are you out of your mind? It stole my dango, Anko added, as if that explained everything. Though she quickly realized she should not have said that, as she saw the older man redden and several veins on his forehead bulged out. Give me one reason why I should not demote you to a genin, he managed not to shout. Give me one reason. Well, this cat snatched away my dango. And when I tried to catch the damned creature, I kept eluding me. You mean to say that one single cat could escape a seasoned Jonin? Hiruzen facepalmed. That is it. You will only be doing D-rank missions the next 3 months. And you will repay every bit of damage you have done. Now get out of my office. Hokage-sama, you cannot be. Anko tried to protest, paling at the idea of doing such missions. She would be the laughing stock of whole Konoha. And Hiruzen knew. You are lucky I did not take you off the exams. Now get out. Sarutobi Hiruzen, even though it happened only very rarely, lost his patience. Chi, what have you done? How did you get that dirty? Akko exclaimed upon seeing the mud-covered cat. It was worth it, the cat chuckled. Animal abuse. Ding dong. Hello. Good morning, Mr. Uchiha. I am terribly sorry to bother you, but I am from the Konoha Animal Control, and I need to check up on an anonymous tip. Tip? What about? Sasuke frowned, surprised by the visit of this uniformed man. Well, apparently you have been keeping a large number of illegal birds in your apartment, which is against the law. Let's see. The man rummaged through his report. Ducks. Ducks need to be kept in a garden, not inside an apartment, Mr. Uchiha. Ducks. Ducks. Sasuke snapped. That cat again. I will kill that bloody cat. Calm down, sir, the officer warned, taking a step back. The Uchiha's killing intent being obvious. Calm down. I will kill that cat. Sasuke roared, activating his Sharingan. The man shrugged. Suit it yourself. You are arrested for attempted animal abuse, the man replied, taking out a can from his belt. Arrest me. Do you think you can stop an Uchiha? Sasuke now totally lost it. The Hokage frowned when he read the report. Uchiha Sasuke would be prosecuted for attempted animal abuse. And got arrested by a mere agent from the Animal Control Department. Who had used pepper spray against the Sharingan. I'm getting too old for this job. Hiruzen sighed. Chapter 18. The first stage. I'm glad you all decided to come. Kurenai smiled proudly at her genin team. Now I will explain how you will start the exam, now that you are all here. What are you doing? She added when she saw Kiba give Naruto a few coins. The said Inuzuka shrugged. Hinata said this was a team thing, which meant that if one of us didn't show up, we would fail. So, Naruto and I made a bet on whether she was right or not. You make bets like these. Kurenai blinked in surprise. You gave us the good example, sensei, Kiba shrugged. I told you that it is foolish to think you know better than Hinata. Naruto smirked at the Inuzuka, not noticing the blush on Hinata's cheeks. You brought the forms I gave you yesterday. Kurenai sighed, trying to hide her amusement. But I must warn you not to be too carefree. These exams are a serious matter, staged or not. This is an event where people will die if they do not pay attention properly. This caught their attention. Well, Kiba's and Hinata's. Naruto did not seem to care at all. Kurenai frowned. I don't want to see any of you end up dead because you underestimated the test, or the competition. Remember to back up your friends from Konoha, but be on your guard at all times, even to them. Do not trust anyone besides your own team. The first test will be taken in room 301 inside this building, she continued in her lecture mode. Expect obstacles. Now hurry up and enter when it is your turn. And good luck. Thanks, Sensei, Kiba replied. And don't worry about us, Naruto added nonchalantly, though she saw in his eyes that he was completely serious. It must be an act to boost the team's morale a bit, she realized. She noticed that Hinata needed it. The girl just bowed to her, too nervous to speak. Kurenai wondered how many doubts had gone through the girl's head before she had arrived here. And how many doubts she still had. After all, she was uncharacteristically late. Normally, Hinata was the most punctual of the three. Well, Naruto didn't do too bad once he got used to the fact that she was not a jonin like Kakashi. Good luck. I know you three have the strength and skill to make it. As she wanted to go to the meeting room where all the jonin sensei were supposed to gather during the first test, she was halted. Don't worry too much, Kurenai, Jiraiya spoke. How could I not worry? I know, he smiled, though with a hint of sadness due to the memory. I've sent more than one team into their exams. But this team is strong. Even if they faced another jinchuriki, they would win. As long as the rules are not bent or accidentally forgotten because of Naruto, she answered darkly. Even if it was my old sensei, anyone who tries that one will wish they were never born, the older man said in a tone which sent the chills down through her spine. It was easy to forget at times, by the Sannin had not earned himself that honorary title because of his goofy act. No, this was a shinobi with a vast amount of skill and experience. When it finally was their turn to enter the building, Kiba alerted them the moment they stepped in. Hinata activated her Byakugan. Genjutsu, she hissed. Anyone watching us? Naruto replied on a casual tone. Yes. Two men, Chunin chakra levels, probably hiding their identities using Henge no Jutsu, she whispered back. Only Chunin. Kiba responded with disappointment. Yeah, why did we even bother to enter? Naruto smirked. Those fools can't beat Hinata's eyes, or your nose. Or my jutsu, he concluded with a smile. The two Chunin watched in confusion when the three genin disappeared after one of them had dropped a smoke bomb. But they couldn't be found. What the? Shunshin no jutsu. Where did they go? No, the other replied. It's impossible for genin to travel both fast enough, and far enough, to avoid being detected. But look at the screen, the first one pointed, look. They just entered the room. How in the world? Great idea, Hinata. Naruto smirked, looking at his teammates. Of course I could not use the stealth seal on you, but you can activate them for yourselves. Stupid, I didn't think of it earlier. Kiba panted, and looked annoyed. Stupid, you are, an idiot, he stammered. Damn, if you hadn't used that Shunshin no Jutsu, that chakra drain was crazy. It only took half a minute, Naruto frowned, not understanding why his teammates were so exhausted. If it had been a few minutes, okay. And they didn't even have to walk themselves, Naruto pondered. Luckily, Kiba had a few food pills with him, so the others rejuvenated quickly. How long can you keep this jutsu active, Naruto-kun? Hinata questioned, after she had regained her breath. Depends. It drains more chakra when more people are around, and if they are really looking for you, the chakra consumption is quite high, Naruto shrugged. But a few minutes, at the worst circumstances, is doable. I think my record is about 25 minutes, he scratched his chin, thinking. But that was during night. So long. Hinata almost wanted to say out loud. Does it take its chakra to do that? Why? Naruto replies, honestly surprised. As I thought. Hinata realized. Naruto-kun doesn't need the Kyuubi, he is already far stronger than anyone would suspect. Kiba shook his head, thinking that he should stop feeling surprised whenever Naruto did these kinds of things. He looked into the room they were supposed to enter. So, These guys are our competition. Doesn't look like much. Damn, look at how old they are. They must really suck if they still need to do the exam at their age, Hyuga said loudly, drawing more than a few angry looks. You should not draw too much attention to us, Hyuga-kun, Hinata whispered, worriedly. Don't waste your breath on that troublesome fool, Shikamaru remarked, walking towards them. He and Choji greeted them friendly, but Ino did not seem to have forgotten her defeat. Come along, I saw the others over there, Shikamaru added. Are you all right, Ino-san? Hinata asks, seeing the blonde's look. Yeah, I recovered quickly enough, Ino said, with an odd tremor in her voice. She did not know how, but somehow, something had pushed her out of Naruto's mind when she had tried to use her jutsu. Especially the response of her father made her worry. Enough to agree and promise that she would never attempt to use her jutsu on Naruto again. So you guys entered too? Sakura asked when the two teams joined hers. Hyuga and Hinata walked towards the ever-quiet Shino. Sasuke stood a bit apart from the others, seemingly annoyed and a bit impetuous. Naruto expected that the last Uchiha was dying to get a chance to show off his skills. How much would Sasuke have grown? Fighting him could be amusing, Naruto pondered. I still owe him some payback for attacking me. Yeah, Kurenai-sensei allowed us to enter, he said indifferently. Naruto could still see the fear she was trying to hide. Not that he really blamed her. After what he had done in the country of waves, fear was only a logical emotion for her to feel, as she did not know the truth about Naruto. Naruto had once hoped Sakura would behave differently because she too knew what it was to be singled out because of something she could not help. Not that she had allowed to let that hope exist very long. Though, it had surprised him a bit that she would take the initiative to talk to him. Kurenai joined Kakashi, Guy, and Asuma in their conversation about their genin. Excuse me, a blonde kunoichi from Kumo tapped on her shoulder. Could I talk with you for a moment? Privately. Of course, Kurenai frowned. Is there something wrong? She asked when they stood at some distance from the other jonin. You are the sensei of Uzumaki Naruto. The woman asks, continuing when she saw Kurenai's nod. My name is Niyugito, and you could say I am related to Naruto, from a certain point of view. What? Kurenai frowned. I am too where he is 9, Yugito added softly, cautious not to be heard by the others. Do not worry, I am here under Jiraiya-sama's protection. But I do need to warn you, as Naruto is not the only one who joined the exams. There is another. Neji. Naruto exclaimed. And Lee as well, he added. Darn, now this exam has become a lot more difficult. Can't we make a deal? No way. Lee smiled back. It's been too long since we had our last youthful duel, and we will face each other again. Neji grimaced slightly because of his overly enthusiastic teammate's behavior. Their third teammate, Tenten, was amused by the carefree behavior of Lee and Naruto. I know you. My dad made that set of armor and clothing for the Hyuga clan, she remarked. He did. Tell him he did a great. Before Naruto could finish his response, someone walked towards him. Naruto noticed how Sasuke and Neji tensed. You. A cold voice permanently ended the cheerful atmosphere around the young Uzumaki. A murderous intent filled the room, and Naruto turned around to look at its source. A relatively short boy of Naruto's own age was looking at him. He had auburn-colored hair, and a large gourd on his back. Naruto smirked when he saw the kanji for the word love on his forehead, something which was completely out of place next to the boy's empty and emotionless eyes. But it was not the lack of distinctive pupils or eyebrows, or the exhausted look on his face, which made Naruto shudder a bit. It was the cold fury he saw behind the boy's mask. The obvious lack of sanity. Somewhat shocked, Naruto realized what the boy was. Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto answered, keeping his smirk intact, though his eyes were fully serious. All the talk in the room silenced when Naruto answered the boy's intent with equal power. Most of the nearby genin stepped back, with terrified looks on their faces. Is this what it feels like when I am angry? No wonder Sakura was scared, Naruto mused. Sabaku no Gara, the boy replied with a voice devoid of any emotion. I did not know there would be another like me. Tisk. Don't even bother to compare yourself to me, Naruto scoffed, feeling his whiskers thicken, and knowing that the color of his eyes had changed a bit as well. It's not like we are anything alike. Two terrified shinobi who seemed to be Gaara's teammates tried to persuade Gaara to walk away from this, but Gaara did not even seem to notice them. He was far too obsessed with this unexpected threat he now faced. Meanwhile, Naruto wondered what agitated the Kyuubi so much. The demon had been amused when they had met the host of the Two Tails, as if he viewed the other demon like a younger and weaker sibling, but this was different. The Kyuubi despised the demon that had been sealed inside Gaara. Your blood would be a worthy offering, Gaara said, while his face lost all pretense of sanity. And killing you would certainly prove my existence. Gaara, please don't, his older female teammate tried to warn him. Please stop this. Back down you two, a heavy voice shouted through the room. A Jonin had entered the room, a large and imposing man, covered with scars. If you two start fighting, I'll kick the both out of Konoha myself. Gaara glared back at the man. Fine, though his tone spoke of the contrary. We will meet soon, Uzumaki, Gaara added with a final look at Naruto, before he took his place. As Gaara walked away, Naruto turned towards his formed classmates. He frowned a bit when he noticed that all of them, except for Hinata and Kiba, had backed away. Whatever you guys do, avoid that guy, Naruto said to them on a serious tone. A duel with this Gaara will only have one possible end, slaughter. Avoid him, or run away as hard as you can if you cannot avoid him. Flanked by Hinata and Kiba, Naruto walked towards the list to find out which seats they had to take. Monsters, Sakura said softly, her face still pale because of her fear. They both are. Must be monsters. And Kiba and Hinata didn't even flinch. Shikamaru frowned as he considered what she said. He realized he had to talk to his dad, Urasuma, soon. Was this why Naruto had broken through his restraints so easily? If so, then these were indeed monsters, but not as unpretentious as Sakura would think. And while Naruto seemed to have some humanity, the other did not. Neji-san, what did you see? He asked the Hyuga. Naruto is correct, Neji said on an even tone, trying to not reveal how unsettled he was. Facing Sabaku no Gaara would be suicide. They both possess chakra levels beyond any other genin in this room. Far beyond any of us. Lee, Tenten, let's follow them. Shikamaru nodded towards Choji and Ino, and followed Neji's example. Sakura wanted to move on as well, but noticed that Shino looked at Sasuke. What's? She started, before she looked at Sasuke's face. Even though it was only a fraction of a second before he regained his composure, Sakura saw the jealous look at Sasuke's face. She knew how obsessed her teammate was when it came to power, so witnessing the display of Gaara and Naruto must have been a slap in his face. Sakura sighed, realizing that this exam might become a bit problematic if it continued like this. Let's find our seats, she said with a faked optimism. Her inner persona shouted that she should jump in to comfort Sasuke, but that she decided that this would not be the best course of action. To their disappointment, the man called Morino Ibiki led the first part of their exam. It was especially disappointing because it was a written exam, consisting of 10 questions, of which the last one would be revealed 10 minutes before the end of the 1-hour exam. With the rules he set out, it was pretty obvious that they wanted to see how the genin could cheat the exam without being noticed. And though Naruto could answer 2 questions, the remaining 7 were beyond his knowledge and abilities. Naruto was a bit annoyed that there were so many observers, which made it impossible for him to use the stealth seal, as there would always be one who would notice him. Hinata had it easy, as her Byakugan could simply saw everything, making cheating in this exam almost embarrassingly easy to her. Naruto saw that Kiba, who was seated a few spots in front of him, also smiled with confidence. The observers didn't pay any attention to Akamaru, who was sitting on Kiba's head. Naruto figured that the dog somehow peeked at the exam sheets of others and gave Kiba the information he needed. Damn it, what now? Naruto cursed at himself. He had left 2 Bunshin outside the room, but though they had stealth seals on them, Naruto did not know how to contact them without being noticed himself. Usually, Naruto communicated with his Bunshin by creating another, which spread the new information once it popped. Because all the stories had made her curious, she had been watching from the other side of the window how Naruto would do this exam of his. And while she conveniently sat there, she thought he was rather foolish. And now he panics because he does not know every answer. Foolish two-leg, he only needs to take care he doesn't drop to 0 points, she thought, annoyed by the boy's short-sightedness. He always lost track of the details while busy. She sighed. But if I do nothing, he'll start doing something foolish and he'll end up failing the exam. Let's see, I guess I could track down those clones he made earlier. If they were in the room itself, he would have already finished writing down the answers, so they are probably right outside, she guessed. Damn it, I got to try something. Naruto cursed internally, as he realized he should have anticipated something like this. Keeping those bunchen outside the room had been quite a mistake. One of the observers looked at him suspiciously, but could not spot anything suspicious. Just another panicked brat, the man smiled to himself. A moment later, one of the observers stood up to close the door, which had suddenly opened up slightly. The observer looked in the hallway, and as he wanted to close the door when he saw nothing, a cat slipped through his legs. When he turned around, he noticed the black and white creature sitting on his chair. The creature seemed rather curious when the man tried to pick it up, but refused to cooperate. The man considered that it wasn't worth making a fuss about it. The creature did not help any of the genin, and attempts to remove it would only distract the kids. The man shrugged, and closed the door, resuming his watch. 4 minutes after that, Naruto started writing down the answers. And thanked himself for putting so much extra chakra in the bunchen, as a contingency. That was why it could last this long, despite the number of observers. Containing a demon was useful, at times. The observers had never spotted the bunchen which entered the moment she caused a distraction, though Naruto nearly facepalmed when his bunchen had kicked Gaara's chair before it dispelled itself. Though, it seemed like one of the observers made a note when a little amount of smoke lingered near Gaara. The remaining time seemed like an eternity to Naruto, especially because more and more genin were removed from the room. Luckily, neither Hinata nor Kiba got caught. Not that Naruto expected such. When it came to these things, his teammates were a lot better than he ever would be. Well, if he did not have the stealth seal active that was. To his big surprise, Naruto spotted a familiar figure a few seats away from him. What the hell is Haku doing here? Naruto asked himself, recognizing the clothes. Haku had been a deserter from Kurigakure, and to Naruto's knowledge, missing nin were not allowed in the exams. Alright, Ibiki spoke up after looking at the clock. And now we will begin the 10th question. The serious looks on the scarred man's face unsettled most of the genin, especially those who were already panicked due to the exam. This question will have some added rules. This certainly caused some surprise with the remaining genin. I'll explain. These are the rules. Of desperation, Ibiki spoke darkly, while he started to pace around. Those who were seated in the front looked more and more uncomfortable. Each of you must decide for yourself whether or not you will take this last question or not. Choose. A female voice spoke up, from somewhere behind Naruto. What happens if we choose not to take it? A devilish grin appeared on Ibiki's face. If you don't want it, your points will be reduced to 0. You and your team fail. Silence, he said loudly, after several genin started to speak. The other rule. Completely silence returned in the room. If you choose to take it, and fail to answer the question, you will lose the right to take the Chunin exams. What? Several voices protested. Forever, Ibiki added ominously. Naruto smiled when Kiba started to protest, aided by a ferociously barking pup Orochimaru. What kind of stupid rule is that? There are enough guys around who took the exam before. Ibiki laughed at him. Those guys had the luck they did not meet me. This year I set the rules. Of course, if you don't have the guts, you can always try next year. When the silence set in after Ibiki's explanation, a lot of genin showed outright panic. It wasn't long before one stood up, raising his hand and shouting he gave up. 50, 130, and 111. You fail, one of the observers noted. This one resignation caused a new wave of panic, and within a minute another 24 genin had left. Naruto frowned. The first one to give up was the guy whose answers Naruto had copied, as his bunchen had concluded that this guy was the one who had the best answers. Awfully suspicious that a guy who easily answered everything correctly with such speed would not dare to take the final question. Naruto saw Kiba's frown as the boy looked back at him. Naruto shook his head when he saw the unspoken question. They would not give up. But what bothered Naruto was not Kiba, but Hinata. She constantly doubted her own ability, so he figured she would also have the highest chance of giving up. But Hinata did not look back when Naruto turned to look at her. He could see a tear rolling down on her cheek, even though he could not see most of her face, as she looked down. Damn it, Hinata. Don't you give in, that's what he wants. Don't give those bastards the chance to say that they are right about you, because they're not. Unintentionally, Naruto's anger drew on the Kyuubi's chakra. They must have made this rule to make Naruto-kun fail. Hinata thought gravely. The whole village is against him, so it is likely that they would make a rule to lock him out. It's so unfair. Tears of anger started to flow. Why was there so much injustice towards her teammate? Why would they always go out of their way to harm him, even though it was forbidden? Her head jerked up when she felt his rage. With frightened eyes, she looked at the angry face of her normally kind teammate. He shook his head as if he wanted to say, "Don't dare to surrender." She nodded, with a little smile. Naruto-kun would never give up, no matter what they want to do to him, she whispered to herself. How could she doubt him, the very person whose courage had inspired her all these years? Naruto turned back, after being confident that Hinata would not give up. Why don't you stop playing around with us? He exclaimed, after another 6 had left the room. Ibiki frowned a bit. The boy had radiated anger for only a moment, and due to the enormous amount of chakra the brat possessed, that intent had nearly paralyzed the other genin. And even scared one more group out of the exam. He looked around and saw that most of the doubters had already left. There are still 3 more minutes if you want to avoid the risk, brat. Avoid risk? Naruto scoffed. We are shinobi. If I wanted to avoid risk I would have become a farmer. That broke the tension. Darn, seems like that's it. Enko will have to do the rest, he sighed. He looked at the 63 genin that were left in the room. No one else, he asked. When no one responded, he shrugged. All right, everyone. Ibiki spoke loudly. You all pass. What? Several genin screamed. What about the final question? One demanded. I just asked that final question, Ibiki smiled, now completely different. He dropped his intimidating act, and explained. The final question gave you the 2 options you had during the first stage of you exams. You could either take the risk, or be scared away. And no, those first 9 questions were not pointless, he laughed. Those first 9 questions tested if you could gather information or not. The last one, if you had the guts, you will need to back up those skills. As far as I am concerned, those that fled away are incompetent as ninja. He uncovered his head, which caused many of the genin to hold their breath as they saw the horrible scars on top of it. Gathering information without being noticed is one skill you will have to possess, unless you want to end up like me, he pointed as his own scars. Several genin paled. But in order to gather the information, you will first need to take a risk. Those left us today were unfit to become a chunin who could do the higher ranking missions which require you to risk your life. It was a leap of faith, he added, as the protests continued. Because, if you make it to chunin, you will not be able to avoid the danger. If you are not prepared to die, or see your comrades hurt, you should quit this exam and continue your D or C ranked missions back home. There is no place here for cowards. Now, I wish you luck with the next stage of your. Ibiki went silent when something broke through the window. This person erected a large banner, and shouted, I am the examiner for the second test, Mitarashi Anko, now let's go. What the? Naruto frowned. What the hell was going on? The black, or blue-haired woman was vaguely familiar. The woman wore a tan overcoat on top of a fitted mesh boy suit. She also wore a dark orange mini skirt, and a forehead protector, but all in all Naruto thought she should have chosen something more decent to wear. Haruki's lectures on good manner finally sorted their effect. Bad timing, Ibiki said, showing up from behind the banner. What the? Why did you leave so many of those maggots in here? They're good, the tall man shrugged. That is why 21 teams managed to survive the first phase. The woman looked around at the 63 perplexed genin. Bah, fine, I would have them anyway. All the more fun for me, she added with a vicious smile. Okay, you maggots, get back to your sensei. The loud Jonin said. Tomorrow at 9 we will continue at Training Ground 44. Naruto realized where he had seen her. She was the caretaker of the forest he often went to, and chased him out twice. When he joined up with Kiba and Hinata, he let a wide ferocious grin escape. Tomorrow will be fun, he stated. Thanks Chi. He petted her when she jumped into his arms. Chapter 19. The Second Stage. Chunin Exams Arc. Second Stage. Do you know ni Yugito, Naruto? Kurenai asks, after the three genin had told her how they succeeded their first test. She talked to me, yeah, Naruto frowned. The others looked curiously. Naruto saw that Kurenai was troubled by something, and Naruto made a guess. We've met another one just now. He did feel like you did, Hinata said on a sad tone. Though, the influence of the other Chakra was a lot stronger. Yugito told me to warn you about another jinchuriki, Kurenai admitted. I do not know how she figured that out though. It takes one to know one, Naruto replied darkly. Kiba realized what they were talking about now. Who was he? Kurenai asks. Did he have control? Yugito-san seemed quite agitated about it. Sabaku no Gaara, a genin from Sunagaku, Naruto answered. I do not know much more, but I do know that his mind is nearing the point of being shattered under the pressure, Naruto sighed. He will probably fall soon. I do not know why they took him here, but in my eyes it looks like they brought an armed bomb over here, waiting till it explodes. Because if he is challenged during this exam, perhaps that is what they want. This situation is suspicious. I will report this to the Hokage-sama and Jiraiya-sama at once, Kurenai said on a serious tone. Try to avoid him. Do not engage him at any cost. After their sensei walked off with a hurried pace, Naruto turned to his teammates. I cannot do as she asks, Naruto told them. Gaara has a demon sealed inside him, just like me. However, he is unstable, and a danger to all of Konoha. What do you want to do about it? Kiba asks, afraid of what Naruto was going to answer. For you two to stay out of it. No Hinata, I am serious about this, Naruto interrupted her before she could argue against it. Gaara possesses chakra beyond any other genin. If he progresses to the latter stages of the exams, or that he loses control when you guys are around. No, I am the only one capable to take him down, and the Forest of Death is the perfect place to get rid of him. You can't be serious, Kiba exclaimed. Why would you have to risk your life to? Because I am a shinobi, Naruto interrupted him. It is my duty, and also because I am his fellow jinchuriki. And I fear that he was brought here for a reason. Perhaps as a countermeasure against me, or perhaps they just want to unleash him upon Konoha. Sunagaku and Konoha have a peace treaty, Hinata tried to argue against it. And how would they have known about you? Perhaps the two villages have a treaty. But it would not be the first treaty to be broken. Naruto replied darkly. You should let the Jonin handle him, or Jiraiya-sama, or the Hokage himself. Desperately she sought a way out of this situation as she could not let Naruto risk his own life like this. And create an international incident. Intervention from Konoha during the Chunin exams against one of Suna's candidates. It would be seen as a breach of that same peace treaty, and the world would know that it was Konoha who broke it. What would it mean to the other treaties that Konoha has? It might lead to a fourth shinobi world war. Especially when Iwagakure is only waiting for an opportunity to attack us. And Kumo isn't exactly friendly either. But, Hinata, Naruto said softly. I know you don't like it, but Gaara is a threat to Konoha, and I am the only one who can do something about it. Whatever I may be, I know I do have a duty to the village. All I ask from you and Kiba is to locate him, and then I want you to get out of there as quickly as you can. Like hell we would. Kiba showed his anger, emphasized by Orochimaru's angry barking. We would never let you do this on your own, Hinata said with determination, though Naruto could see the tears in the corners of her eyes. We can help. We will help. Do you even realize what you two are saying? Naruto replied with an exhausted voice. You have never seen a demon, not a real one. Even back in the ruins you only saw a fragment of it. You have no idea of what it can do. If I am right, and Gaara loses control, I even doubt that one of the Jonin would be capable of stopping him alone. Perhaps Jiraiya could, but even he would have a hard time. Naruto became a bit angry, though a corner of his mind realized he loved it that his teammates would take such risk for him. He would never actually allow them to take the risk. If I face Gaara, you two have to get out of my way. I will not let you risk your lives because of what I have to do. If you guys are too close, you would only distract me. It would only hold me back. Hinata looked like he hit her, and Kiba and Orochimaru growled. Though it pained him to hurt his teammates like this, Naruto saw no other option. Even if it meant insulting them, even if it meant that he had to say they were just a burden to him, he would rather do that than allow them to risk their lives. He rushed away, though not before Hinata caught a glimpse of fear and sadness on his face. He is afraid, she said to her angry teammates, when Naruto was gone. Of course he is, Kiba growled. No, not of Gaara, she replied. Naruto would not be like that. I think he is afraid he gets us hurt. Perhaps even that he will be the one who loses control. That he is the one to hurt us. What do you mean? Kiba's rage turned into surprise. He just told us we were useless, that we would only be in his way. I think Naruto fears that if Gaara releases his demon, he will have to do the same to stop Gaara. He wouldn't. Naruto-kun will put the village's interest above his own. He just told us that the Forest of Death was the ideal place. It would be the area where their fight would cause the least destruction to Konoha. Imagine what would happen if a demon was released within a populated area. Hinata felt the tears run down. Naruto would be willing to die for the very citizens who cursed him his entire life. But I won't allow it, she stammered. Jiraiya-sama must be able to help us. Somehow. Silence had filled the room after Kurenai had left. Sarutobi Hiruzen sat in his chair, smoking his pipe, whilst staring into the distance, seemingly lost in thought. Jiraiya couldn't blame him. This situation is dangerous. We cannot act, unless we want to create trouble with Suna, but if we do not act, and Naruto is proven right about this Gaara's instability. Last time I nearly saw a Jinchuriki lose control, I was just in time to repair her seal. Jiraiya remembered the ordeal when he had first met Yugito. The longer the Toad Sage pondered, the further away a solution seemed. That meant a solution which avoided casualties in Konoha, and did not lead to war with Suna. Both elder men were shaken out of their reverie when Hinata and Kiba entered. The young Inuzuka could barely contain his frustration while he told them about what had happened before. We could promote Naruto based upon his assessment of the situation alone, Hiruzen said with a wry smile. Hokage-sama, Hinata exclaimed, her eyes widened with shock. You can't mean you intend to let Naruto. No, I do not, Hinata, Hiruzen sighed. But I cannot deny that Naruto's judgment, well, if I were him I would probably do the same thing. Jiraiya, do you know anything about this Sabaku no Gaara? Jiraiya frowned and looked from the genin to his former sensei. If I remember correctly, Suna had sealed away a demon called Shukaku. This creature is said to be the restless spirit of a corrupted priest, but I suspect that it is truly the Ikibi, the one-tailed Biju. Jiraiya sighed. Sensei, in all honesty, if that kid breaks, there are probably only 4 people in Konoha who can engage such a demon on their own and live. And one of them has no intent of causing a global war. Yugito spoke from the window, startling the others. Which was quite a big deal, considering the 2 people she managed to surprise. Don't worry. I have no intention of acting against Konoha, Hokage-sama, she added quickly, when she saw Hiruzen rise from his seat. I will defend myself when I am attacked, but I cannot attack a Chunin candidate while he is participating in the exams. Raikage-sama would forbid me to do so, and he would be right. But Kiba tried to protest. Aside from the 3 of us, Naruto is the only other who has the raw power to match Gaara, Yugito spoke clearly. But it would be foolish to think that he has the control needed to match Gaara if the latter loses control. Then what do you propose? Hiruzen asked sharply. We cannot act, but cannot afford not to intervene when there are so many lives at stake. If you want to kill Naruto, you should send him to fight Gaara right now, the Jinchuriki spoke bluntly. He is not ready yet. Perhaps, but perhaps not, Jiraiya spoke softly. Never underestimate Naruto's ability. And like you, Yugito, he was forced to grow faster than any other child. Do not compare us, she hissed back. The Kyuubi is something completely different from the Nibi. Hinata and Kiba were shocked when they realized who this woman was. This is not the time for this, Hiruzen said with a tired voice, as he lifted his hand to end the discussion. If you think that it is time which Naruto needs, then I propose that Hinata and Kiba try to stop him from engaging Gaara tomorrow. And all this is a secret, of course. We will try our best, Hokage-sama, Hinata said in relief. Hold it, Jiraiya warned. Naruto will be able to sense Gaara. Guiding him the wrong way, or stopping him, will prove to be a very difficult task. Especially with that stubborn nature of his. We don't care, Kiba replied. We know we must stop him, and we will. Hiruzen smiled at the determination he saw on faces of the young genin. I will arrange for a strong paralyzing poison to be brought to the Hyuga manor. Add a little to a kunai or a senbon, and you should be able to stop Naruto for a few hours, Hiruzen said gently to Hinata. Jiraiya, and you too, if you are willing, Yugito-san, Hiruzen continued. I ask you two to go to the central tower. If you notice things go wrong, you have my authorization to intervene. And if it is possible, train Naruto while he awaits the next stage of the exam. Yes, Hokage-sama, Jiraiya and Yugito agreed. And I trust you two will do your parts as well, and keep this knowledge secret from everyone else, Hiruzen frowned. He did not like it to rely on two genin in such sensitive matters, but under the current conditions. Hokage-sama, Hinata asked hesitantly. If Gaara gets through the second stage, how will he be stopped? There will be a 1-month period between the second and third stage, Hiruzen said seriously. If possible, I will arrange it so that Naruto faces Gaara under controlled circumstances. Also, I will notify the Jonin sensei from Konoha to warn their students about this Gaara. After what happened today, Kiba smiled weakly. None of the others would even dare to get close to either Naruto or Gaara, let alone engage them. Yo, Haku. Naruto drew his former enemy's attention. Hinata and Kiba had not yet arrived at the meeting place, but Naruto knew he was a bit early, with another 25 minutes before they had to report at the entrance. But most of the foreign teams had already gathered, though Naruto had not yet seen Gaara. Naruto-san, Haku replied, somewhat pensive. So, I take it that you return to Kurigakure. Naruto pointed at the new Hitai on his fellow genin's head. Yes, after the current Mizukage-sama was appointed, Zabuza-sama was willing to return. Mizukage-sama was quite happy with our return as well, and she has allowed me to join a genin team and take the exams. Even though becoming Chunin is only a formality to you, Naruto smirked, remembering the boys' skill from their meeting at the Land of Waves. I don't know, Haku replied honestly. After my defeat, and what happened yesterday, I doubt whether it will be that easy. I cannot, however, disappoint Mizukage-sama, nor will I disappoint Zabuza-sama. You sound as if you doubt yourself, Naruto said somewhat surprised, even with your strength. Tell me, Naruto, what do you think is strength? Strength. Naruto scratched the back of his head in confusion. Being able to beat any enemy with my own power. Don't you think strength should have a reason? Reason. Why would someone use his strength if he has no reason? They say that each of the Kage is so strong because they all have a lot of people who they need to protect. I believe, when a person has something important to protect, that's when they can truly become strong. Naruto frowned. He remembered the moments when he felt strongest, like in the Land of Waves. He recalled his own reasons to face Gaara. Protecting those I deem important. But who do I? Naruto mused, before thinking about his team, Hinata, Kiba, Akamaru, and Kurenai. And beyond his team there were Haruki, Akko, Jiraiya, and even the old Hokage. Perhaps you are right, Naruto admitted. But why tell me this? Haku looked at him sharply. I have seen you act, both yesterday and while in the country of waves. I have always lived and fought to serve Zabuza-sama, and now Mizukage-sama. But when I saw you, it felt like you only fought for yourself. As if you do not know any reason for which you fight. Naruto did not really know how to counter that statement. Haku returned to his team members. Strength without reason, Naruto mumbled. But reason do I have? I do my duty to a village which shuns me. I act kindly to those who return it with hatred. Do I even have a reason? Naruto felt the Kyuubi chuckle. Reason. Reasons are for weaklings. You should fight for yourself, because no one else will fight for you. The fox spoke darkly. Normally, Naruto would have immediately agreed with this, but the time with Team 8 made him see things differently. Naruto felt like he began to change, if only it was a little. Naruto had another 10 minutes to ponder about his own reasons, and Haku's statement, before he was joined by a serious-looking Kiba. Even Hinata seemed somewhat agitated. Still annoyed by the Gaara thing, I guess, Naruto thought. The group remained unusually silent. Great. I even managed to scare away the few that don't treat me as an outcast, Naruto scowled. But he felt as if it was needed. He would rather be hated by them, than to let them risk their lives like that. Mitarashi Anko had finally appeared, but Naruto heard relatively little about what she said, still lost in thought. Though not lost enough to be unable to dodge the kunai the annoyed Jonin threw at him. Pay attention, maggot, she spoke, appearing from behind him. Naruto felt his anger surge, but before he could respond, another genin appeared behind Anko. Who handed her the kunai she had just thrown, with his extended tongue. You dropped this, he said with a creepy voice. Why thank you, Anko responded, seemingly friendly. But don't sneak up on me, unless you want to die. Seriously. My humblest apologies, the genin said, though there was nothing in his voice that agreed with his words. I just got a little exited by that blood, he pointed at the scratch on Naruto's face. As the tall, dark-haired genin stalked off, Anko frowned a bit. Looks like we've got no shortage of bloodthirsty ones this time. She looked down at Naruto. Be careful for that one too, don't act stupid, kid. Kurenai would kill me if I let anything happen to you, she whispered. Naruto didn't miss the slight traces of agitation in the Jonin's voice. Great, now we have that long-tongued creep to worry about as well. And she is aware of Gaara as well. Naruto had just realized that he could not notice anything which might have implied that the Hokage had taken countermeasures after Kurenai's report, but he now guessed he was wrong. Are you all right? Hinata asked softly. Huh. Oh, it was just a scratch, it's already healed, Naruto said casually, wiping the blood drops off his cheek to demonstrate it. Just pay attention, Naruto, Kiba said on a serious tone. We've got to get a scroll from the tent over there, and capture its counterpart during the test. Once we have both scrolls, we need to go to the tower in the center. Yeah, scroll, tent. I heard her, Naruto shrugged. Then don't act stupid and focus on the mission, Kiba growled. As Kiba stalked off to the tent to collect their team's scroll, Hinata watched Naruto carefully. Her mother's lessons enabled her to read most people fairly accurately. But she could not figure out what Naruto was thinking. Despite the determination he showed the day before, he now seemed distracted by his own thoughts. Say, Hinata, Naruto shook her out of her contemplations. What would you fight for? I don't. She stammered. She thought he was talking about Gaara. I would rather not fight at all. Naruto frowned. Fighting is inevitable, we are shinobi. But what should we be fighting for? Kiba returned, and Naruto saw Hinata would not answer him. Here, you two fill in these agreement forms, the Inuzuka said bluntly. Somehow, there seems to be a risk that we might die. A little to the northeast, Hinata whispered to her teammates. Within 10 minutes after entering they had tracked down another team. Of course, Team 8 had an unfair advantage, with both Kiba and Hinata in a single team. There is something strange about them, Hinata added, while they drew close to them. Genjutsu, Kiba hissed. Release, the three chanted. Even though Naruto wondered why he did not feel any change at all. 3 genin dressed in yellow jumpsuit fled from the clearing. Seems they were preparing some kind of trap, and we disturbed them before they finished it, Hinata explained. Wait, Naruto. But Naruto did not wait. He easily caught up with the 3 terrified genin. Naruto saw their head protectors, they were shinobi from Omegakure. Naruto decided to send out 3 Kage Bunshin to capture the 3 cowardly genin. Give me your scroll, he said calmly, when his Bunshin brought his victims to him. Kiba and Hinata jumped down, finally having caught up. Now, Naruto growled, seemingly not willing to take a chance. One of them, the only one with both his eyes uncovered, took out a scroll. Sensing his intent, Naruto tore a kunai through the boy's throat. Hinata screamed out as Naruto executed his captive, and then noticed that the scroll he had taken out was a fake. The boy had been willing to ignite an entire scroll of explosive tags, willing to sacrifice himself if it meant taking them all down at once. Last chance to leave this place alive, Naruto's voice threatened the remaining two genin. They surrendered quickly, this time handing over the real scroll, which Kiba took. Another heaven, the Inuzuka said tersely, not yet realizing Naruto had just saved them. The two survivors took their comrade's body and left, heading back to the entrance they came from. You keep these two, Hinata, he added, handing over the scrolls. Why the hell did you just do that? Kiba snapped. Kiba-kun, he was trying to ignite a scroll filled with explosive tags, Hinata explained softly. Kiba frowned a bit, but was not satisfied. Nevertheless, he pointed at Naruto. You should control yourself. You did draw on the Kyuubi's chakra very easily, Hinata agreed, before Naruto could respond. I know you are agitated, but Hinata is right, Kiba growled. Right now, you are a mess, Naruto. It's bad enough to be afraid of one lunatic around here, so don't lose your mind as well. I don't, Naruto growled back. Did we get the right scroll? We already had the heaven scroll. I told you that already, Kiba countered. You killed that guy for nothing. Hinata was a bit worried by Kiba's anger, and the somewhat disillusioned look in Naruto's eyes. She activated her Byakugan. North, nearly a kilometer away, a girl is attacked by a bear. Maybe she has the right scroll, Kiba said grimly. Karen lost track of her teammates when they were ambushed by another group. A kunai had wounded her left calf muscles, hindering her movement. Once she was able to escape her pursuers, she decided to take a little rest to heal her leg. Damn it all, she screamed, running away as fast as she could on her injured leg. The cave she had just looked inside was occupied by a large bear. The black-furred creature now chased her. Normally, the beast wouldn't have had a remote chance of keeping up with her, but after sustaining her wound and fleeing for over half an hour, Karen was unsure if she could outrun the creature. And as if her situation wasn't bad enough, she now felt 3 shinobi in front of her as well. Her sensory skill told her that 2 of them were fairly regular, though above average. But compared to their teammate. Shit. Why would I have to cross paths with one of those 2, she exclaimed, having witnessed the confrontation between the Konoha and Suna shinobi the day before. She tried to evade, but between the bear and them, she saw no chance of escape. Despaired, she tried to hide behind a nearby tree. Gatsuga! One voice exclaimed, and another barked. After a huge crash, she saw the bear falter away. Well done, Orochimaru, the voice said enthusiastically, with some happy barks in response. Karen froze. Perhaps they would not notice her. Where are your teammates? A gentle female voice asked her. Karen looked up, into the white eyes of the girl which now stood before her. I don't know, Karen said with a hoarse voice. She put up her hands. Please don't kill me. Karen silently scolded herself for not being able to hold her tears in. But within the hour, she had already expended all of her chakra. And had faced death several times. We don't kill people, the boy whose voice she had heard earlier said. Where are you from? She has a Kusagaker forehead protector, another voice answered for her. This was the blonde chakra monster she had seen earlier, and she backed away in fear. The blonde sighed, and the girl stopped Karen from moving away. Naruto-kun doesn't hurt people who don't intend to hurt us, she said with a soft voice, though her eyes were focused on the other boy who now had a little dog on his head. Only if you don't give us your team's scroll, the dog-carrying boy said with a wolfish smirk. Karen looked at them. Despite her initial fear, the red-haired girl realized they had no intention of hurting her. Instead, they had saved her. Thank you, she said weakly. Thank you for saving me. The boy named Naruto tensed as Karen rummaged in her pack. Have this, Karen said, handing over her team's scroll. I don't know where my teammates are, if they even survived the ambush we ran in before all this. Who attacked you? The white-eyed girl asks. I think they were from your village. An older, gray-haired shinobi led them. Doesn't seem like anyone we know, Naruto answered. Kiba. He asked the dog-wearing boy who had saved Karen earlier. Nope. And after the dog barked, and neither does Orochimaru. The white-eyed girl also shook her head in denial. Do you have some kind of sensory ability? Naruto asked Karen. What? She looks at me quite funny, he explained when the others looked at him. Karen nodded. Why, yes. I can sense you. You and whatever else that is inside you. It isn't, right? Hyuga laughed. I told ya, Naruto. You should control yourself. Hyuga-kun, the white-eyed girl warned him softly, as Naruto frowned. Don't. Suddenly, Naruto struck out. Karen screamed in fear, and tried to dodge. Stupid. Naruto smiled mischievously, as he pulled his fist away, which now contained a snake. This place is filled with dangerous animals. You are a censor, right? Karen nodded. We've got 3 scrolls now. If you help me out, I'll give you our spare scroll of heaven. Karen's eyes widened. Why? Who are you looking for? Did you see the Suna genin with that crazy gourd on his back? Naruto. Hyuga said sharply. No. Don't go after that guy. Karen looked at them. Hyuga and the white-eyed girl disagreed with Naruto, but it was Naruto who offered her a scroll. I sense 5 people in this area with extraordinary chakra levels. Aside from Naruto-san, she continued, there are 2 located in what I think is the center of this area, another one is east, and the last one is in the western direction. Can you sense if any of those last 2 is like me? Naruto. Please don't, the white-eyed girl pleaded. They both have strong evil chakra. Karen decided to trust the other 2, despite not knowing what the problem was. The one in the west is the vilest, but doesn't seem to move very quickly. Karen didn't know who this was, but the chakra was not nearly as inhuman as that of the Suna genin and Naruto. Naruto frowned. Why don't we take a short break? You need to be fixed up first. I'll get some food, you guys set up camp. I saw a cave a little to the northwest, Karen added. That's where I met that bear. She admitted with some embarrassment in her voice. Great. Then it's empty, Hyuga said. Let's move. Thank you, Hinata-san, Karen said, after the girl who had introduced herself as Hyuga Hinata had cleaned and bandaged her leg. Karen-san, could you please make sure Naruto-kun does not meet this Gaara of the desert? It would make our day quite a bit easier, Hyuga added. I already did, Karen admitted. Naruto was still away and she wanted to figure out why the other 2 wanted to avoid this Gaara so badly. When you 2 asked Naruto not to chase this Gaara, I decided to help you. You are the one who saved me, Karen added shyly, looking at Hyuga. Hyuga looked a bit uncomfortable under the compliment. So this Gaara was the chakra you sensed in the eastern direction. Karen nodded. Though I am not entirely sure, I think so. The one in the east is comparable to Naruto, while the one in the west is significantly weaker, though still stronger and more evil than any other signal in this area. So the other 2 must be Jiraiya-sama and Yugito-sama, Hinata whispered. Though, she was a little uncomfortable that there was another powerful chakra amongst the genin, one which she had failed to spot the day before. She knew very well that it was rather difficult to hide from her dojutsu. So, who are you? Hyuga asked Karen, the latter now petting Orochimaru, just before Naruto entered their cave with rabbit and a variety of fruits. My name is Karen. Though I live in Kusagaku right now, I know I wasn't born there. I lived in an orphanage in their country, after my village was burned down during the war. Naruto looked up, his distaste obvious when she spoke the word, orphanage. I was the only survivor of my village, or so I was told, she continued. I don't know if I belong to some clan, but when the shinobi of the hidden grass found out that I had a sensory ability, they recruited me. Naruto frowned. He knew many orphanages did not bother to hide the way they sold children who showed a particular talent. Do you like it over there? He asks. Karen's silence was enough to them. If you don't like it, you could always defect, Hyuga said. I mean, just hide in these woods, and after the test is finished you could request to join the Konoha shinobi force. Kusagaku would just think you died during the exam. That would be great, Karen admitted, at the thought she could escape that place. Though I doubt they would see me as much more than another tool here. If they even accept me, that is. People are not tools, Naruto said darkly. Hokage-sama is not like that, Hinata said quickly, realizing what Naruto meant. He respects his people, just as he would not let people throw away their own lives, she added pointedly. Naruto did not fail to notice what Hinata had pointed out, but focused on the fruit, while Kiba prepared the rabbit. In a little while, Team 8 and their temporary ally were eating. Thanks for the food. But why are you taking a break this early? Karen asks. Right now, everyone is out hunting. Right now, Naruto explained. We already have what we needed, so we don't really need to rush, especially now that tracking has become even easier, Naruto yawned. Beating up the other teams would only be a troublesome thing to do, as Shikamaru would put it. Kiba chuckled, especially because he and Akamaru had been labeled troublesome many times. And I did not really sleep that well either, Naruto admitted. He was bothered by the whole situation around Gaara, which also caused the Kyuubi to keep annoying him throughout the night. We could extend our break a little, so you get an hour of sleep, Hinata offered. Naruto looked at her, and at Karen. Fine, but wake me if he start to move. He's attacking another team, Karen hissed. Kiba woke up Naruto, and the four of them moved. Karen's leg had healed with remarkable speed, something she thought was normal, but was impossible to anyone but Naruto. Another kilometer northwest, she said, after a while. Hinata's Byakugan, as well as the noses of Kiba and Akamaru, ensured that they avoided any traps or other teams. Naruto didn't particularly mind beating up another team, but it would only be wasting time. When they arrived at the scene, they saw Shino's unconscious body on the ground, and Sakura's panicked look at a screaming Sasuke, who collapsed the moment Team 8 came close. Sakura, what is going on? Naruto shouted, while looking at the odd genin who stood in front of them. This genin was the one with the freaky tongue, and his chakra level was way beyond any normal genin. Or jonin, for that matter. Seems like Karen-san was wrong, Naruto realized. This isn't Gaara, even though this guy is obviously trouble as well. Welcome, Uzumaki Naruto-kun, the creep said. Now Naruto looked better. He saw the genin's eyes were slitted, just like those of a snake. I had hoped to meet you too, today. Though I would have liked to play around with little Sasuke-kun a bit longer, the freak smirked at Naruto. Quite rude to interrupt me. Sakura, Naruto urged, but his former teammate was frozen in fear. Kiba, Hinata, look after them, he ordered. Look at the wound in Sasuke's neck please. Something about the wound made Naruto feel uncomfortable. Amusing, the freak remarked, but pointless. Do you really think you can engage me on your own, boy? Like a snake, the genin struck out to Naruto, seemingly stretching his own arm. Naruto did not dodge, but instead quickly fired at the freak. Kaden. Gokakyu no Jutsu, Naruto exclaimed, as did the 8 clones he made just before he had arrived. Yet somehow, the genin was able to dodge the 9 fireballs, though this left him open. Futon. Wind cutter, the Narutos shouted. Though Naruto could not follow the speed at which the freak executed his jutsus, he could see that this had been a variation on the Kawarimi no Jutsu. Despite the evasion, Naruto had managed to cut his opponent once. Something the freak apparently had not expected, Naruto guessed when seeing the annoyed grimace on the freak's face. Noticing his teammates wanted to jump in after having removing their classmates from the danger zone, Naruto used Futon explosion. Though a weak variant, as Naruto didn't have the time to build up a greater mass of chakra, it was enough to create some distance between them and the freak. Nothing seems to work. Well then, let's see how this will work out, Naruto grimaced, as he submerged himself in the Kyuubi's chakra, though he took precaution not to dive into it too quickly, to avoid losing control. So that is where it went. The freak murmured, his eyes changing from anger to surprise. Now enveloped in crimson chakra, Naruto charged in. The freak blocked most of his attacks, but had to exert himself rather than do things casually like he did before. Futon. Rinkuden, Naruto growled, putting enough chakra into the air bullets to blow several trees apart when the freak was hit. Is it still pointless? He tried to provoke his freaky opponent, as he drew more of the Kyuubi's chakra into himself. Not pointless, Naruto-kun, the freak said with a slight hint of seriousness. I admit you are better than I had anticipated. But continuing this would be a waste of my time and energy. The freak disappeared, and Naruto was surprised that he could not sense how or where went. This guy was a lot better than he let on. Naruto grumbled. Damn it. Who was this evasive bastard? Now Naruto noticed the scratch on his left arm. It was an injury that the freak had given him before he used the Kyuubi's chakra, and though it seemed minor, it didn't feel good. As the Kyuubi's chakra evaporated, Naruto could feel a strange itch from the place. And not from healing. Antidotes. Quick, he shouted at his teammates, while he dismissed the Kyuubi's chakra and jumped towards the place where the others had gathered. Hurry, I need. Damn Naruto, at least tell us something before you. Naruto. Hey. Kiba forgot his anger when the jinchuriki fell over. Poison. Karen hissed. The paled Hinata quickly opened her first aid kit, and injected Naruto with a mixture of antidotes which was used against most types of poisons. Together, Hinata, Kiba, and Karen brought Naruto and Team 7 to a nearby, bear-free cave. Shino regained consciousness pretty soon, and Sakura was not really wounded, even though she was in a state of shock. Sasuke and Naruto, however, were in a worse condition. Even after a night sleeping, both boys suffered from fever. Oddly, Sasuke had a strange mark in his neck. Sakura had claimed that the freak, who had called himself Orochimaru, had bitten him at that place. By the end of the morning, Naruto woke up. Or so he thought. Disgusting, the fox said. Naruto groaned, and realized he was pulled inwards again, to the Kyuubi's prison. What's going on? He asked, still somewhat confused. You got poisoned, you moron, the fox growled. And you still let your opponent get away, despite wasting my chakra on him. Gay, you proud bastard, Naruto smirked. You're just sore you couldn't break free this time. Perhaps, the fox frowned upon seeing the boy's bravado. But I also wanted to warn you. About what? Naruto instantly was on guard. The fox hardly ever warned him, but if he did, it was about their continued survival. That former teammate of yours, that Uchiha brat, the fox explained. He got some kind of seal on his body, crammed with a disgusting sort of chakra. If that thing isn't locked, he will fall to it. Not that I wouldn't mind if he died, but it would be annoying if he went rogue. Which would mean you could lose your chance to get rid of the Sharingan, Naruto deduced, guessing the reason for the fox's continuous hatred towards the Uchiha. That too, the fox admitted. You know the basics of the evil sealing method, use that. I know how to draw it, but I'll tell you how the hand seal's needed, the fox growled. After you wake up, focus on healing yourself as quick as you can, and use the technique on the Uchiha brat. Once you have regained enough chakra, the amount you use to summon that large toad of yours should be sufficient. Waking up in the real world was a bit more uncomfortable. His body still burned from the fever, and the poison disrupted the formation of chakra as well. Naruto groaned as he opened his eyes and tried to get up. His body was weighed down by something else as well. What the? Naruto whispered with his dry throat. A sleeping Orochimaru was lying on top of the blanket which covered Naruto, and next to him, still holding his hand, Hinata had fallen asleep. She still held a wet cloth clenched in her other hand, and Naruto realized that she had been looking after him. Looking at his other side, Naruto saw the restless Uchiha, who was still unconscious even though he groaned and moved as if he was trapped in a nightmare. You should sleep, Shino said softly, startling the blonde genin who had not noticed him yet. But Naruto wasn't able to sleep now he had finally woken up. How long? He whispered. 17 hours, Shino whispered. Damn. That poison must have been quite something if it was able to take me down for such a period, Naruto thought. He remained perfectly still, but was unable to sleep, so Naruto tried to mold some chakra. After what seemed hours to him, Naruto was finally able to create a small amount of chakra, and he started to speed up his recovery. Shino rose up. Hinata, he said, waking her up. Quickly, there are people approaching. At the same time, Karen spurted in. There are, you already know. She said. They seem pretty capable, but nothing to really worry about. Shino-san, you should stay here, your leg. As the other went out, Naruto sat up. Though extremely tired, he could at least move now. What happened to your leg? He asked Shino. Broken, the mostly covered boy replied on a dry tone. But as the sounds of a fight arose, the impassive Aburame twitched, obviously wanting to join to help his teammates. Naruto stood up, but was still wobbly. Give me your hand. Supporting on each other, both genin moved towards the entrance of the small cave. Behind them, Sasuke's restlessness seemed to grow worse, and his groans turned into shouting, as if he was responding to the violence outside. But that didn't really bother Naruto, he was worried about his teammates. He couldn't care less about Sasuke at this point. Actually, he believed that a little suffering might just be what the proud bastard needed. Hinata and Sakura faced a girl from Otogakure, while two teammates from this girl kept Kiba, Orochimaru and Karen occupied. Gatsuga! Kiba shouted, and he and the now transformed Orochimaru turned into miniature cyclones thrusting towards the long-haired Oto genin. Even though they hit their target, Kiba and Orochimaru seemed disoriented. Their opponent was hurled away though, giving them some time to recover. Meanwhile, Shino ordered his insects to drain the other, spiky-haired, sound genin. Naruto was cursing at his own weakened condition, and forced as much chakra as he could through his system. Before he could recover, however, a large concentration of chakra erupted behind him, blowing him from his feet. Disoriented again, he saw Sasuke, standing in front of the cave. But something was wrong, very wrong, as Naruto noticed that half of Sasuke's body was covered with strange flame-like glowing marks. Sasuke smiled with contempt as he looked at the attackers from Otogakure. All this power, he whispered while looking down at his own hands. This was his gift to me. Sasuke's smile turned into a grimace of rage. Was it you guys? He whispered, as the marking spread over his entire body. Who was it that hurt my team? Who was it that dared to wake me? The sound shinobi started to look with fear, as they felt Sasuke's chakra surge. The Konoha genin and Karen were frozen, not knowing what was happening. In a blur, Sasuke vanished. And the head of the spiky-haired sound nin exploded, as Sasuke's fist had hit him with such force and speed that even Naruto cringed a little. The long-haired sound nin tried a new strategy. Here is our scroll, he said with a shaken voice. Please do not kill us, we did not mean to. The shinobi never got to finish his sentence, as Sasuke drove a kunai into his neck. Mythical flower jutsu, Sasuke shouted at the last sound nin. She tried to dodge the 7 balls of fire, but failed. The last one struck her back, and she fell down. No Sasuke. Sakura shouted. But too late. Sasuke appeared next to the female shinobi who had the audacity to attack them, and knocked her out with a single strike. Sakura jumped in to stop Sasuke from killing the girl. This time the pink-haired girl succeeded, and held the boy firmly. Please, stop, she begged him. As if he slowly realized where he was, Sasuke's rage left his face. And with it, the markings on his body withdrew to the point from which they originated. When the chakra which had filled his body evaporated, Sasuke fell down to his knees, along with Sakura who still embraced him. The power, he whispered, looking bewildered. What happened to? Naruto jumped down, and knocked him out cold. What the hell? Sakura shouted at him. Why did you? Step aside, Naruto growled, cutting her off. Unless you want to see him die. Naruto pointed at Sasuke. Naruto, what are you doing this time? Kiba demanded. But it was Hinata who spoke. That seal, it will consume him, she said, her voice revealing the pain she felt from the injuries she had collected in the previous fight. Karen nodded. I don't know what it was, but it was certainly something evil. Sakura. Shino called her over, because he had failed to limp towards her. Please help me back to the cave. She tried to resist, but Shino stopped her. Whenever it is about Sasuke, you always fail to see the logical solution, step away. I know a way to stop that seal from spreading, Naruto explained grimly. But I am weakened now, so I can't have anyone around me to disturb me. Kiba, could you get me my ink and pencil from my pack? Hinata, Karen, please warn me if anyone else gets too close. After Sakura sighed in defeat, she helped Shino back to the cave. Though she refused to go away from the entrance, as she wanted to keep an eye on what would happen to Sasuke. And she did not trust Naruto. Especially not after his display against Orochimaru. Kiba returned with the ink and pencil, and removed Sasuke's shirt after Naruto asked him to. I can't draw the complete seal here, so make sure you take Sasuke to Kakashi-sensei. Either he or Jiraiya-sama should be capable to complete this sealing method. I don't have the chakra to do it myself, not right now, he said to Sakura. Naruto started to draw a complex pattern on Sasuke's upper body, of which no one really knew what it meant. Does anyone have some food pills? Naruto asks, somewhat annoyed that he still only had so little chakra. I got some, Hinata answered quickly, with a worried look on Naruto. It was the first time she ever saw him this exhausted or weakened, other than after what had happened in the ruins. How strong had that poison been? Thank you, Hinata-chan, Naruto smiled weakly. He swallowed the pill, and turned towards Sakura. This sealing method will cause him some pain now, but do not intervene. Kiba, if she does, knock her out. Kiba nodded with a smile. Naruto knew well enough how Kiba thought about the fangirls in their old academy class. There isn't anyone close right now, Karen answered Naruto's look. All right. He whispered. Here we go. As he molded as much chakra as possible, Naruto also drew out as much of the Kyuubi's chakra as he deemed wisely at this moment. This should be enough. He started to repeat what the fox said inside him. Hare, snake, horse, ram, bird, tiger. Hare, snake, horse, ram, bird, tiger. Hare, snake, horse, ram, bird, dog, rat, Naruto mumbled while performing the said hand seals. Evil sealing method, Naruto growled, while he put his hand on Sasuke's source of corruption. All the patterns Naruto had drawn previously started to move towards, and encircled the accursed seal. Sasuke woke up and screamed out of pain. Kiba twitched when Sakura seemed to move, but fortunately the girl was able to restrain herself. After a few moments, the sealing method was completed. Sasuke had passed out again, and Naruto had fallen to the ground if Hinata hadn't darted forward to catch him. With his face covered in sweat, Naruto gave her an exhausted smile. Success, he whispered, before passing out. When Naruto woke up again, he was back in the cave again. This time, Hinata was awake, and gave him something to drink, after she helped him sit upwards. Thanks, Naruto said softly. How are you feeling? She asked gently. Better. Still tired, but I think the poison is gone now. How is Sasuke? Still unconscious, Sakura answered. When will he wake up? He should be fine, though it'll probably take a day, perhaps a bit more, depending on his own strength, Naruto answered. Though I am not entirely sure, it might depend on the strength of that thing Orochimaru left on him. Plus, I didn't have the strength to execute the complete sealing method right now. What does that mean? Shino asks. Like I said before, that you have to finish the exam as quickly as possible after Sasuke wakes up, and report this situation to Kakashi-sensei. Someone should either complete or replace the seal I placed on him, but it should keep Sasuke safe during this stage. Are you saying Sasuke should give up after we complete this stage? I do not know, Shino. But it is likely Kakashi-sensei would say something like that, Naruto nodded. Though make sure he does not draw onto his chakra before his seal is finished. The seal I placed on him is not perfect, so it could break if he pushes himself too hard. Here is another food pill, Naruto. Hinata gave him another pill, and more water to swallow it away. You should rest for a bit longer. Yeah, you are a mess now, Kiba added. No use in going after Gaara, in this condition. Sakura and Shino looked sharply at him. Karen just said, he is out of range anyway, I presume he entered the central tower already. We should report what happened as soon as we can, Hinata said. If this Orochimaru really was who he said he was, he is the former teammate of Jiraiya-sama. Naruto sighed, and admitted defeat. All right, I'll do as you want. Kiba looked up. I thought I remembered that name from somewhere. History lessons, Kiba, Naruto smirked. You should have paid attention on the academy. Like you were ever awake during class, Kiba protested. A few hours after, Naruto felt strong enough to complete the exam. They left Sakura and Shino behind, and wished them luck. With the death of the Sound Team, Team 7 now also possessed both scrolls they needed, and with Shino's ability they should be capable of avoiding any further trouble. As Team 8, still joined by Karen who seemed reluctant to leave their side, moved towards the tower, they met two other teams. The first simply fled when they saw Naruto, and the second was routed quickly after Kiba and Hinata ambushed them. Arriving at the tower, they followed the instructions and opened their scrolls. "Hi guys," Jiraiya said, though he was surprised to see a fourth genin. "Who?" "She helped us during the mission, Jiraiya-sama," Hinata answered. "We saved her after she lost her team," Kiba added, "but we would prefer it if her presence was kept a secret, so she can join Konoha after the exam is finished. We owe her that." Jiraiya frowned at the unusual request, and then shrugged. "I take it her teammates presume she died in the forest. I left behind my backpack, head protector, and some blood to make it look real," Karen added. "Not that they would care if I live or die. Please, I would rather stay here, instead of going back to Kusagaku again." Jiraiya saw her look at Kiba and smiled widely. "Unusual place to pick up girlfriends," he smirked. As Kiba protested, both Jiraiya and Naruto chuckled. Only Hinata did not miss the blush on Karen's cheeks. "Orochimaru," Jiraiya whispered softly after they had finished their report. Karen had gotten a room in the tower, complete with enough resources and the facilities to last a month. She accepted her prison, stating that it would be worth it. Jiraiya placed a temporary seal on the room so others could not accidentally enter. After that, he and Team 8 had moved to the office at the top floor, where the Hokage had just arrived, and Team 8 had started giving their report of the situation. "Though I am glad you did not meet the other Jinchuriki," Hiruzen said, "you three do seem to attract problems. Sarutobi-sensei, can you allow me to?" "No, Jiraiya." Anko found the bodies of 3 genin from the hidden grass, and noticed that it was the work of Orochimaru. As she traced him, he showed himself to her. "He said that he would destroy Konoha if we stopped the exam, or tried to capture him. And from what you three just told me, I take it that his special interest in the exam has been Uchiha Sasuke. Now what?" Naruto asks. Naruto was still somewhat annoyed that Orochimaru had gotten away before he had the chance to execute a single offensive fuinjutsu. "You three rest for the next 3 days. Naruto, I have asked Yugito-san if she could talk with you, and if possible teach you a few things. Jiraiya will stay close and observe you, while she teaches you. Should I trust her?" "Yes," Jiraiya answered. "She owes me, and would not act against Konoha." But first Team 8 retreated to their specified rooms. Hinata was worried about Naruto, who was still tired due to the whole ordeal. Each team had access to a single shared living room, which was connected to 3 separate bedrooms and 1 bathroom. She watched as Naruto rummaged around in their living room. "Are you alright, Naruto-kun?" Yeah, I mean no. That damned snake guy damaged my new clothes," he said with outrage. "I have to find some way to apologize to your mother." Mother. Hinata did not understand this at all. "Why would you?" "Yeah, your mother gave me a set of new clothes," he said with some pride in his voice. "But now one of the sleeves got damaged," he frowned. "Why did mother give clothes to Naruto-kun?" Hinata wondered. "Perhaps I could repair it. I mean, just a quick fix. I am not that good." "Could you do that for me?" Naruto asks in outright amazement. "That would be great," he cheered. Her smile at his enthusiasm immediately changed into a furious blush, when Naruto handed her his shirt, now in his undressed torso. He had removed his mesh armor earlier. Amazingly, Hinata could blush even more, after Naruto exclaimed that she was completely awesome, after she had fixed his sleeve. Chapter 20. A lesson. "Let's start at the basics," Yugito said. "The demon inside you is one of a certain class of demons. Ordinarily, demons do not reside in our world, or so I understand from the historic, scientific, and religious sources. The Biju are an exception. Each Biju has a number of tails, ranging from 1 till 9. Naruto nodded. "Jiraiya-sama once told me something similar." "Yes, though this is still fairly uncommon knowledge. There are 9 Biju, each with their own unique powers and appearances, and their own number of tails. Many consider the Biju not so much as animals or demons, but more as immense masses of chakra. This is also the origin of the fear which both ordinary humans and shinobi have towards the Biju, and as such also towards us jinchuriki." "Power creates fear," Naruto answered. "The Kyuubi once told me something like that. Then you must understand that humans have hated and hunted the Biju for centuries. This is done because humans also see potential in the Biju's power. They wish to use it as a weapon. This is the desire which created us. We are at the crossroads between humanity and Biju, capable of understanding both. Understanding. Naruto frowned. How could you use a power you do not understand it? Jiraiya replied. Wrong. Yugito cut him off. The word, use, is wrong. Naruto, you told me you would not want to be referred to as a tool, but why would do that very thing when it comes to the Kyuubi? Naruto's frown deepened. He could not counter this argument, nor was he sure he should even try. It probably means I am wrong about him, Naruto concluded after a long silence. Partly, I cannot blame you for doing such when the Kyuubi only tries to torment you, Yugito admitted. The Nibi was sealed in me when I was very young, and like you, I grew up with a monster inside me. Or at least, that is what I thought. I was young and did not fully understand what happened to me. Yugito sighed. At the same time, the Nibi was imprisoned, and tried desperately to regain her freedom. Understand this, Naruto, the Nibi was hunted down, attacked, and captured by humans, and imprisoned in one as well. How would she have made a distinction between humans, when all treated her equally bad? She hated me as much as all the other humans. Eventually she even came close to breaking free, nearly destroying me. If it wasn't for Jiraiya-sama, I would have been dead, and the Nibi either free or trapped in another child that was unfortunate to be chosen. I was simply at right place on the right time, Jiraiya shrugged, but this also touches the political aspect of the Biju. Politic. Why politics? Naruto acts in confusion. A jinchuriki who is capable of either using or cooperating with the Biju who was sealed within him or her, has powers which exceed that of any normal shinobi, Yugito explained. Even a Kage would think twice before facing a fully trained jinchuriki. Which means that the hidden villages have hidden competition. The one with the most jinchuriki has the advantage, Jiraiya added. As such, there is a delicate balance in our world between the powers of our countries. If a jinchuriki dies, that balance is disturbed, as it will take a nation quite some time before a new, fully trained, jinchuriki appears. And worse, if a jinchuriki dies, and the Biju either manages to escape, or gets stolen and sealed by another village, the balance could be destroyed. Which would create another shinobi world war, Naruto deduced. Exactly, Yugito agreed. That is why jinchuriki are generally confined to their hidden villages, to avoid any risk of getting killed or stolen, while they prevent wars simply because others fear the threat that one of us might take action. They use us not so much as weapons, but also as something that terrifies the opponent. A lingering threat that makes any aggressor reconsider. So all the Biju are spread over the 5 most powerful hidden villages. Naruto acts. As far as we know, there are 8 Bijus captured, Jiraiya admitted. The Rokubi's location is unknown. Yugito frowned a bit. I only knew of 7. But back to our topic, this emphasizes the danger of someone killing Gaara. If Suna lost their only Biju, it could create a new war. I know, and that is why you people cannot attack him, Naruto replied. But I am doing the same exam, so if I killed him, it would be something ordinary. You are wrong, Jiraiya said. The way in which this Gaara would die is of no importance, but the very fact that it would happen is enough to cause war. But this is beside the point, we were discussing the Biju. Yes, Yugito continued. As I said, the Biju see us jinchuriki only as their prisons, and wish to break free. In my case, I relied too much on the Nibi's chakra, and this corrupted me, until the seal which held her imprisoned nearly broke. After Jiraiya-sama repaired the seal, I focused my training on increasing my own strength, while keeping out that of the Nibi. You needed strength to keep in control. Naruto frowned, somewhat confused by the paradox of her story. You talked about cooperation and now about submission. Cooperation, Yugito answered with a slight smile. But I was told I needed to become strong, so that the Biju could respect me. Naruto, how could you consider a partner your equal on the battlefield when the other is completely helpless without you? With some help, I gained enough strength for the Nibi to recognize me, so that we could start working on a solution of our common imprisonment. Naruto nodded. The Kyuubi had been imprisoned inside him, but that also caused Naruto to be trapped himself. Imprisoned by the village, and how people treated him. And as they had just explained, he was also imprisoned in the global political system with regard to the balance between the hidden villages. I won't say it has been an easy path, Yugito said with a gentle smile. But as far as we know, it is the only path open to us. A jinchuriki could become strong enough to force a biju to submit, but a biju will never stop seeking a way out. Any moment of weakness would be fatal. Cooperation between the jinchuriki and the biju is the only viable path. And to tell you the truth, I have yet to reach the same level as my fellow jinchuriki from Kumo in this regard. Don't know how this is going to work out. The Kyuubi seems to think this is quite amusing, Naruto frowned. Perhaps, but you are still weak, Jiraiya said with a smile. Until now, you had little choice but to rely on its chakra, and you did not have the power hold it back. Now that you grow older, your development goes faster than any ordinary shinobi. It will pump as much of its chakra into your system, Yugito added. The same thing happened to me. I was constantly overflowing with chakra, which caused my chakra system to grow with an incredible rate. Our bodies are forced to adapt to levels of chakra ordinary shinobi usually can hardly fathom. While normal shinobi have to train hard to gradually expand their capacity, we jinchuriki are in a constant struggle to keep up, both in capacity and skill, with the chakra the biju flood us with. Because if we can't, we will lose control and fall. So how do I get stronger? Naruto asked hesitative. Training, Jiraiya answered. I was planning to take some time off after the exams are finished to train you, perhaps I could teach you the basics of senjutsu. Yugito's eyes widened a bit. That would be helpful indeed, Naruto, you will need all the strength you can get, as the Kyuubi's strength is as exceptional as its hatred towards mankind is. Your struggle will be harder than mine was. You have to use the time you have left as efficiently as possible, as your seal will not last forever. It is breaking. Naruto asks, somewhat alerted. No, Jiraiya sighed, putting his hands up to reassure Naruto. But these kinds of seals have limitations. The seal which the Yondaime placed on you is exceptionally strong, but still, while the Kyuubi keeps trying to break free, the seal will one day crumble. Nothing lasts forever. How much time do I have? That depends on many things, Yugito answered on a sad tone. I can only speak for myself, but one of things which caused my seal to nearly collapse, was that I used too much of the Nibi's chakra. This chakra influenced me, changed me, and weakened my will. So aside from the strength of your seal, you should also factor in the strength of your own will, and the rate at which you, willingly or not, use the Kyuubi's chakra. The corruption is a slow process, and you will likely not notice it at all. Thank you, Yugito-sama. Naruto changed the honorific to show his gratitude. This was information which would likely save his life. I would have liked to show you the various stages which the jinchuriki go through to transform in their biju, but sadly I have sworn an oath not to do such a thing outside my own village, unless my life is threatened. What is the Hokage's stance towards Konoha? Jiraiya asks. There is a peace treaty, Yugito replied with confused frown. But, would he allow it if I took Naruto into your country, so that Naruto could train under either you or this other jinchuriki when he is ready? I do not know, Yugito admitted. Personally, I think it is the duty of one jinchuriki to help another, but I cannot speak for others. Especially when it could shift the balance of power between the countries. I will send the Hokage a request, after consulting Hokage-sama, Jiraiya said on a pensive tone. This could be a good opportunity to strengthen the bonds between Konoha and Kumo. Yugito nodded, seeing the wisdom of such a move. Naruto frowned, thinking about his team. Naruto realized he would dislike it if he got separated from his friends. But first, we will spend some time on your chakra control, Naruto, the woman continued. There are some specific issues for jinchuriki which I would like to discuss. Friends. Do I really care this much about them? Could this be what Haku meant? Naruto though, and in his mind he saw Hinata in that cave again, holding his hand as she slept, with the worried expression still on her face. Could she be a reason for me to become strong? And Kiba, Akamaru, and perhaps a few others as well. Protecting them would feel like the right thing to do. Even if I have to spend my life apart from them, it would still be a noble goal. Naruto thought back at the time she had saved him from the orphanages. He had always believed the Hyuga only took him in to repay their debt towards him, as he had saved Hinata. And Naruto had felt obliged to repay his own debt. But when was it that I forgot about my debts? When did I lose track of the logic I always followed? Naruto pondered. And did someone like Hinata even think about such things to begin with? As Naruto was lost in thought, he noticed had arrived at the mess hall. He saw that another few teams had arrived during the day, among which Team 10. Naruto ordered some food and joined his teammates who sat at the same table as Shikamaru, Ino, and Choji. Naruto chuckled when he saw the mountain of food on Choji's platter. Seriously, Choji, it has only been 3 days, Ino scolded her hungry teammate. Yeah, 3 long days of nearly eating a thing, the Akamichi managed to say without slowing down the pace at which he consumed his food. You should have prepared food in advance, Kiba grinned. How could we know this training ground was this troublesome? Shikamaru answered with a sleepy voice. This forest was a nightmare. Bears, tigers, insanely large insects, Ino shuddered when she thought about the last. Hi, Naruto, she changed the subject. Where were you? Hey guys, Naruto greeted them. I was delayed because someone wanted to lecture me a bit. I messed up a little. What did you do wrong this time? Shikamaru chuckled, though his eyes were unusually observant now. We told them a little about the incident with Team 7, Hinata said. Naruto knew enough, as the Hokage had ordered them to keep the whole Orochimaru situation a secret. Oh, that's okay. Sasuke got wounded, and I used a sealing method to make sure the poison would not spread through his body. Don't worry, he'll live, he added upon seeing Ino's shocked look. But I created a bit of a problem because I could only execute part of the seal because I was injured myself as well. Who poisoned him? Shikamaru asked curiously. Don't know, Naruto lied. But the regular antidotes did not work, so I took more drastic measures. Choji stopped his eating for a moment. Very nice of you to help other teams, even if you don't have to. Naruto, the Akamichi smiled, his cheeks still filled with food. I suppose I could not stand by while he was dying, Naruto shrugged, before he attacked his ramen. Well, not with the others near, at least. The remaining 2 days were quite relaxed for Team 8. They talked, ate, and slept enough to recover from the previous days. Jiraiya even hopped by a few times, also to inform Naruto that the Hokage had agreed that Jiraiya could take Naruto as his formal apprentice. Though, Naruto decided to keep this information from his team for a while. Meanwhile, Naruto also had a few hours of training from Yugito each day. I'm bored, Kiba groaned. Hinata looked up from the book she was reading. Apparently, she somehow brought a book along in her pack. Kiba wished he had done something similar. Not that he liked reading, like his teammates, but still. It was better than nothing. Naruto put down the scroll he was reading, and created a clone. You continue reading, okay. The clone shrugged, and picked up the scroll. So, want to play cards or something? Naruto looked at his bored teammate. Kiba answered. How about something different? Let's see. What do you think about our classmates? Well, you never really gave any opinion about others. Surely there must be some you like, right? I just want to know what you think, because you hardly ever talk about others. Kiba grinned. Hinata blushed a little when she heard the boys. How does Naruto-kun see me? She though, both curious and very afraid of the answer. There isn't really much to say. Naruto tried to dodge the curious Inuzuka. I mean, most people disliked me, whether they showed it openly or not, so I just went out of their way. With the exception of Shikamaru and Choji, Kiba pointed at the 2 boys who had usually sparred with Naruto during their classes on the academy. Yeah, they always were very friendly to me, Naruto agreed. So what do you think about them? Naruto sighed, knowing he would have to answer. Choji is an extremely friendly guy. A bit insecure and perhaps a little bit too trusting and naive, but he is equally loyal, especially towards Shikamaru. Shikamaru is extremely smart. He always tries to hide it with that lazy demeanor of his, but I know he is far more intelligent than I am. And I thought you turned out to be some kind of genius, Kiba frowned. I am not, Naruto laughed. How did Kurenai-sensei say it? I am unable to plan, or look at the small details. She said I never really keep focused on things, too focused on my goals and forgetting to think about how to reach those goals. Shikamaru is about the opposite of that. He can plan ahead and always pays a great deal of attention to every detail. Compared to him, I'm merely a scatterbrain. So he's a bit like Hinata. I am not that. Hinata wanted to protest. Yeah, Naruto cut her off. Hinata is a similar type 1 guess, also the one who plans for the entire team. The strategist, the brains of the team, so to say. Hinata blushed. And the others? Hiba continued. How about your old team, Team 7? I never really got to know Shino. He never talked to me, and I never talked to him, so. Well, and Sasuke is an arrogant bastard. Only able to focus on himself, ignoring everyone around him. That's why I feel a bit sorry for Sakura. She has her good sides, but she is blindly devoted to someone who doesn't answer her feelings. Or cannot answer them, if you take his clan's history into account. I thought you liked Sakura, Hiba grinned. I mean, she is one of the few people who you tried to talk to, at the academy. I did. Once, Naruto shrugged. She wanted to be acknowledged, and wanted to believe in herself. I could understand that. I could relate to her struggle. But it is quite obvious how she thinks about me, right? Why is Sakura-san so afraid, Naruto-kun? She saw me murder a lot of people, Naruto said plainly, looking at Hinata, who was worried by the uncaring tone at which he stated it. And now she's terrified of me. Sakura was supposed to be the smartest of our class, Hiba frowned. But it always seems as if she doesn't use that big brain of hers whenever she really needs it. Well, she does suffer from the same kind of temper that Ino has, Naruto sighed. Though Ino is a lot more annoying. Not that she hates me or something, but man, she'll never stop bothering you until she can satisfy her own curiosity. She's about as nosy as you are now, Hiba. Naruto smirked. Thanks. I guess, Hiba replied. He frowned. And what about Team Guy? Neji is a stuck-up idiot. Sorry about that, Hinata, but he really is. He's far too proud of himself, quite similar to Sasuke if you ask me. Rock Lee is, well, he's unique, I'll give him that. But he is a good guy, despite his goofiness. And that chick, Tenten, she is always very friendly. Though, she is quite strict. But she has to fight against a lot of prejudice, being both a kunoichi and clanless. People always doubt her ability, even though they do not know her. But I'd say she is one of the most talented kunoichi I know, she'll definitely become a great ninja. And what? Naruto frowned. Well, I thought you quite liked her, Hiba smirked. Naruto sighed. Hiba, it doesn't matter what she thinks of me. Or what anyone thinks. None of these people know who and what I am. But, Hinata started, but fell silent again. Both boys turned towards her, so she continued. But even if they do not know, they might not change if they found out. Hinata. Naruto's previous cheerful mood vanished. When I was on mission with Team 7, though Sakura had changed her opinion about me a little. But when she saw me, she did not have your eyes and your insight. Or Ero Sennin who threatened her. Naruto smiled a little, thinking back about how Kiba was convinced not to be scared of Naruto. All these people. He continued. I do not have the illusion that everyone will accept me like you guys did. Perhaps they will when I become truly strong, but even then they will still be afraid of me. As optimistic as always, Kiba sighed. But Hinata could understand him a little. She saw how the people looked at him. The look of disgust that some had almost resembled the look many of her clan's elders had when they looked at her. Naruto opened another scroll which had just unsealed. I'd rather be a realist than a dreamer, Kiba. Containing that demon does not give me the opportunity to live otherwise. But things aren't all bad. Compared to a few months ago, I now have some friends, right? Team 8 was mostly restricted to their own room, whenever it wasn't time to eat. But they decided to slip out in order to visit Karen, as Naruto knew the sealing technique Jiraiya had used. I use the same thing to protect my clan's books and scrolls, he shrugged. It's a pretty simple seal actually. When they opened the door, they saw Karen had already prepared drinks and snack. Even for Orochimaru. I sensed you, she explained when she saw them look. Uzumaki-san is hard to miss anyway. And here I thought I was suppressing most of my chakra, Naruto frowned. Karen snickered. Your suppressed state still is noticeable, Hinata explained with a slight blush. He sighed. Guess I still suck at chakra control. Don't worry, Hinata, Naruto added when the latter tried to apologize for reasons he did not understand. Ah well, these simple things are usually impossible to me anyway. How's your stay, Karen? Great, Karen smiled. I don't care about being locked up while all the Chunin candidates are around. As long as I can stay in Konoha it's fine to me. Is your village so bad? Hyuga asked with some concern. I don't really like to be used as a tool. All that stuff about ninja way. I don't care about that crap if it is just an excuse to buy and exploit children. Naruto frowned. I can agree with that. The existing shinobi world only seems to create troubles. Hyuga and Hinata looked a bit uncomfortable, realizing their friend's uncomfortable position. It's not all that bad, Hyuga tried. I mean, Konoha still does pretty well, doesn't it? Naruto looked up. Even so, Konoha is part of a system. I wonder what would be better. Taking the entire system down, or allowing it to continue. Change it, Hinata said softly. When you become Hokage, you could change Konoha, and the world will follow your example. Naruto wondered why the girl had so much faith in him, and was a little confused that it made him feel so happy. No one ever seemed to think much of his ambition. Not before Kurenai supported him. And now she said she believed in him too. But why? You want to become the next Hokage? Karen asked with some excitement in her voice. You certainly seem to possess the chakra capacity to do it. An orphan becoming Hokage. Perhaps that would change all those self-conceited clans, hoarding all the wealth while the clanless struggle in poverty, she added with a growing anger. Sorry about that, Hyuga replied dryly. And Karen blushed when she realized she had also insulted her savior. Hinata frowned, thinking about Karen's words. No, Hyuga, Karen-san is probably right about this. Even within Konoha, the clans are too isolationistic and preoccupied by traditions. Good thing I can make my own clan laws when I'm old enough, Naruto joked. Not that he expected that he would really recreate the Uzumaki clan. Becoming head of new clan required a lot of support from the other clans, which he doubted that he would ever get. Equality would be the first rule, daily ramen a second. You and your ramen, Hyuga sighed, but Orochimaru barked happily. That's it for this part. If you enjoyed it then like, share and subscribe for the next video as it's going to be more interesting, and also check out my other playlists, hope you would like them too.